Ready? Welcome everybody to our City Council regular meeting, August 2nd, 2022. The time is 7:01. We're calling the meeting to order. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. Could we please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members? Thank you. Monica, could we get a roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King? Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor are in attendance.
In regards to our closed session announcements, we are going to reconvene our closed session after our regular meeting. Council, any changes to the agenda?
This is only related to anything prior to the consent agenda or anything in the agenda at this moment?
We could tackle the consent calendar when we get there. If you want to pull anything out.
Well, because basically I just want to make sure, and maybe legal can advise, I want to be able to separate the two items within item number 19. Is that something that we can do right now?
Councilmember, if we could, I think it'd probably be most appropriate when we get to kind of 19 to kind of separate them out at that point in time, because I think it'd be more logical and people will remember at that point.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'll remember it and I'll bring it up when we get
All
to
right,
19.
thank you.
So when we get to 19, we could do that. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to citizen comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address City Council or on any item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by myself, should come forward and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with state open meeting laws, no action will be taken by the council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the City Council as each item is brought up for discussion. Do we have any citizen comments?
I have 2 emails.
Go ahead, is there anybody here in person have citizen comments? Go ahead, Julio.
Okay, Julio Valadez. I was trying to look for the information, but I just wanted to let the city know and the police department know that we will be holding a police training at our facility here at 5150 Gym on August, the week of August 22nd, that whole week. So there'll be a police presence from different agencies here in Livingston, just an FYI. It'll be, I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's police tactics and training. That's all.
Any other citizen comments?
Good evening, Council. Rodrigo Espinoza, Livingston. I'm here as not a supervisor, well, both, I guess. Last week we had the ribbon cutting at Livingston Farmers Association and here at the LFA. So it was a great turnout. We missed the rest of the council. I know Councilmember Jose Moran was there, and it's just a beautiful building that LFA was able to build out there, with the support, of course, with Merced County and Livingston providing the water for LFA. So I thank the council for in the past for that. It's been a couple of years since we were able to have the city support them, and as well, like I said, it was a supporting supporting the city as well with the buildings that they had downtown, and they turned over the keys. I was unable to attend that day, but I'm glad that the city was able to get the grant, Prop 68 grant, and get that recreation center, working on. I know the city's council is working on that along with the recreation, so that's pretty positive for the city, for the community citizens, and that's what, like I said, as a council, we want to make sure that we, this is what the citizens need, recreation activities in the city. So, but other than that, I don't have anything else, unless any citizen has any comments for me from the public. I'll be happy to answer. Anything. County or?
You gotta, I'm sorry, sir, you have to come up to the mic.
Yeah. No problem.
If this is, if we're able to speak and speak for
Yes.
asking questions for
Yes.
the county, can you guys please do something regarding the roads coming into the city, because they're horrible. They're tearing up my truck, my suspension. I'm on these roads all the time between fire calls, between running back and forth into other towns to do other things, and it's just, I understand you guys are working on it and things are expensive, but we gotta have to have infrastructure as well. We have to.
I'd be happy to understand that. Thank you very much. Thank you for that question. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, the Board of Supervisors, we approved a priority list. You can go back and check on the agendas in the county. My number one priority for Livingston right now is getting Lincoln done from the city limits all the way to Highway 140, which is really bad, especially as you leave the city on the southbound. Also on there is Peach, which I take on my way out to the county. Unfortunately, Peach is not on my district right now. It will be soon in the future. So I'm addressing Peach as well. Also Magnolia, which is on the just outside the city. Magnolia is very terrible. We're addressing Bird Street. I know that a lot of our public safety head out to the range. Bird Street is a very bad road. I know that in the past, when I started on the council, we fixed the bridge over the canal over there, heading over to the firing range. And I know Olive, that got done, thanks to, like I said, working with the LFA and in the water, that was addressed there. So partly it fixed up, but I know that, like I said, the roads are terrible. We've been fixing roads all around the county. And, I get frustrated as well, along with the citizens, with Measure V funds and Proposition Prop 1 funds from the state. We're trying to get as much money as we can from through MCAG, fixing the regional roads, and the mayor knows this. We're pushing as many roads as we can regionally and in my district. So thank you very much. I listen to all everybody's concerns. Like I said, right now people are calling me from roads in Santa Anela. I can't address those yet because it's not my district, but after January it will be my district all the way to Santa Anela. And trust me, folks, I have to deal all the way from Planada, Legrand, and pretty soon all the way to Santa Anela, 30, 40 minutes each way. So they're giving me a huge district, but I'll be happy to be able to help the citizens. So thank you very much. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, Supervisor. Just under our rules, it has to be issues before the city council, not issues before the county.
Yeah, but I was addressing partly my comments. So unless the council decides not for me not to comment, I'm addressing those.
Usually, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Any other comments or questions for the county supervisor?
Okay, Julio, you had a question for me or no? No. Okay, thank you.
The name of what? Oh, yeah, go ahead, go real quick.
Okay, the training is August 22nd to the 26th. It's all day, and it's called the Gray Sea Law Enforcement Tactics Course.
Thank you for that info. Any other citizen comments? I know, Monica, you had those emails. Go ahead, Monica.
For the record, these emails were sent to the council and were forwarded to me by Councilmember Soto for public comment, to read for public comment. So for the first one is from Catalina Reyes, and it says, "Hello, my name is Catalina Reyes, and I have sent public comments before in order to participate, but my comments were not read. I want to say that I have done my research, and I read online that the current police chief, Mr. Chuck Hell, lied in court in order to get someone in trouble and to stay in the jail. It is not right for us to have someone as our chief of police that has done something like that. None of the residents are safe from him. I also read online that the mayor pro tem Raul Garcia lied to the rest of the council and the residents about recusing himself and was there on the phone all the time, making everyone think he was not. Then he voted on his own boss having a contract which was illegal. How do you expect the residents to feel safe when most of us barely speak English? Also, the sheriff tries to take away all the officers to work for the sheriff. That will leave us with no officers, then the city will not survive, and sheriff will take over all of Livingston, no more city. Please help us now, or we will go to jail under lies from the sheriff hell because no one is stopping him. Thank you." Second one is from Lucas Hernandez, and it states, "The meeting date is today, 8/2/22, and my name is Lucas Hernandez." And he did state his email address. I'm not gonna state his email address on here. My comment is that the city manager does not seem to really be doing a good job. I don't see that she is hiring anyone from human resources, and I don't understand why she hired a chief with such a bad reputation. I also heard that the police officers are leaving the city of Livingston and going to the sheriff's department. Is this true? How many police officers have been stolen to go to the sheriff's department? Is the city manager trying on purpose to destroy the city of Livingston? Maybe it's because her old boss is now the county CEO, and the county wants to take away all of the tax money directly from Livingston and turn Livingston into a place like Winton and Delhi. Have you seen how bad those communities look? Please remove the city manager immediately, and please remove the sheriff who is stealing the police officers away. Also, if we do not have any human resources person, then who are all the applications going to for people that are applying for the jobs? Hopefully not to the sheriff's hell, because he is not going to help our town if he is already stealing police officers away from the community. It makes sense that the sheriff wants to destroy Livingston so that they can grow their sheriff department with more promotions. Don't you see what is happening? Please stop them now. Please save our police department from the sheriffs who are stealing our officers, and please remove the city manager. Please remove the city manager who is not telling the residents or the council what she is really doing. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Any comments on the phone? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to word presentations and proclamations. We have two tonight. Two very special proclamations recognizing individuals in our community that have, done excellent community work, and we want to recognize them tonight. As we've been recognizing individuals in the past council meetings. Jackie, you want to say anything about item one? Okay. You want me to read the proclamation first, or you want to do the one at the end? Okay, perfect.
This was really a fun project. Got to meet with the girls and the gentlemen sitting on the front row at the Historic Society as everyone began reminiscing about people that have really made great change to the city. And some of these, I think there's only one that is actually still with us. But some of these people I actually remember, and it just brought back fond memories. I'm sure that we could have 100 or more hometown heroes, because really Livingston is a wonderful place, and there's a lot of people that care about it, that love it, that do their best to make life better here. So I'm not going to read on everyone, but I will just go through and speak their names so you guys can have such a good time thinking about these folks as I have. So our first one is Apollina Jamero. She is also out on Winton Parkway, her cutout. And all of these are going to be in the museum so that you can read a lot about all the different ones. But one of the things that when Herb gave me this, he said, you know, at the time when Filipinos were recognized by local legislators as undesirable people, Apollina was a link to help change the perception of the Filipino people. And that really just stuck in my heart. What a great woman. Never got to meet her, but she sure left a legacy here. We have Aurora Garcia. Many of you probably have met her. But she has a wonderful legacy here, and her family was actually one of the first that came to Livingston in the late 1800s. Bob Olson, many of you have probably had some sort of party out at his barn on Vinewood. Great guy. He was so positive. Him and his wife were a great team. Don Meyer, our tennis coach, loved the people here in Livingston, did everything for the kids, spent tons of his own money to help them be able to have lessons and be a part of different tournaments. And he also played the organ over at St. Jude for over 40 years. And here's one of my favorites, Woody Campini. You know, he was always involved in everything, and he was actually the city clerk for many, many years. And so here he is doing his favorite thing. George Saunders, I never got to meet him, but he was also a great, recommended by our Historic Society. Helen Mitchell, our librarian. And our first chief of police, Horace Gilbert. Dr. Jerry Woolahan, it was really fun listening to the ladies reminisce about him delivering babies at people's houses and at his office. And of course, Joe Alvarez, who has, you know, the namesake for our baseball field. You can also see Joe's statue out at looking over right field, out at Alvarez Field. Keith Winton. And I've never got to meet Mr. Winton, but I know his family. And if he was as great as the rest of his family, I'm sure I would have loved him too. Lloyd Jackson, teacher over at LHS that had a great impact on the students. Lyle Fowler, actually Bab's dad, and very involved not only in the city, but in the county. Marge McFadden, many of you may remember her. Margaret Cassell, she was the one who put out all the positive information about Livingston in the articles that she would write. Orville Young, another teacher from the high school that was a great. And Sherman Kishi, who is still with us, 94 years old, and loved this town. And every activity that was going on, you would sure to see Sherman there and being a part of it. And that's all of them.
Thank you, Jackie. You want to introduce? Members of the Historical Society here present?
Sure. If you're part of the Historical Society, can you stand up so that they can all see who's a part of the museum? And it's Robes, Bab, Miss Denny, Mr. Winton, Elaine, and I'm sorry I don't know everybody's full names, Miss Ida Escola, and Joanne Wells. And we need more members, so if you guys love history and want to keep the history of Livingston alive, come join us.
Thank you. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and read a proclamation, which is the proclamation of the City Council of the City of Livingston recognizing 17 hometown heroes in the City of Livingston, past and present, 2022. Whereas in 2022, in the year that Livingston will celebrate their centennial of incorporation, And whereas the City of Livingston Historical Society has recommended the following individuals as making a difference in the betterment of the city by the contributions they have made and to be recognized as hometown heroes. And whereas the hometown heroes include both men and women from the early 1940s through 2019. Whereas the following individuals have invested their time, talents, jobs, and resources for the betterment of the City of Livingston: Polonia Jamero, Aurora Garcia, Bob Olson, Don Meyer, Elbo Campini, George Saunders, Helen Mitchell, Chief Horace Gilbert, Dr. Jerry Wolohan, Joe F. Alvarez, Keith Winton, Lyle Fowler, Lord Jackson, Margie McFadden, Ms. Margaret Castle, Orville Young, and Sherman Kishi. And now, therefore, the City of Livingston hereby proclaims the listed individuals as Livingston Hometown Heroes as part of their centennial celebration, August 2nd, 2022, and will list these individuals in our Annuals of History to be recognized in the Historical Society and to be placed in our Centennial Time Capsule. Their service to the city will forever be recognized. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Anything else?
We have a surprise presentation tonight. And
Can you do it on the mic, please? So people
And I guess since he's the music man, I should have a song all prepared to sing tonight to him, but I'm sorry, I don't. Could you please come up here? Get up. This guy, I'm telling you, he is amazing. He has dedicated, well, we've had 3 music in memorial and went through COVID and didn't have one. But I'm telling you, he is a mover and a shaker. If I had about 10 of him, there's nothing we couldn't do. He has gone out and collected sponsorships. He's organized with all of the people who were playing and tried to select hometown folks so that we could really put Livingston in the spotlight. And if you guys have been out to any of these events, you know that they are fun. So next year, we're hoping if any of you would like to sponsor, RG will take your money. And we would love your help so that we can just keep this program going. And we do have an award for you, but I made you something really neat. Cool. Well, you know what I was gonna do is I got a picture of him dancing with all the girls out in the middle of the stage, and I was gonna play that.
I love live music. We all love live music. It's great. Music and memorial. Excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, so we have a certificate here for you. It says the City of Livingston proudly recognizes Russ Winton for his commitment, dedication, and love for music and memorial. Thank you, Russ. You're appreciated for the great concerts you have brought to us over the years. Congratulations. I'm gonna go around.
Wait, I want to get a picture. Can you guys come up, brothers? Yeah. Thank you.
You know, I'm a selfish guy. Walking around town for many, many years and seeing this great grandstand in our Memorial Park sitting there, no music being played. All cities have music in the park. All cities. Livingston should. So in 2018, I just put it together with just all volunteer effort, and it went off really well. But it's because I love live music. I'm greedy. I want more live music. And it's turned out really well. And I want to thank the city, Jackie and the rec department for supporting me and getting it going. The city of Livingston has a beautiful park out there. And in the old days, that's where the 4th of July celebration was held, but we outgrew it. And it's just sitting there. So take advantage of a situation, and I'm glad that I could do it, and we're going to look forward to more live music for Memorial on Mondays in the future. Thank you so much.
Russ, can we get a picture? The council would like to get a picture with you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to announcements and reports. City staff announcements and reports, Vanessa?
Mayor, City Council, we don't have any staff announcements tonight.
Thank you so much. City manager announcements and reports?
None to report.
Thank you. City council member announcements and reports. Councilmember King? Councilmember Jose Moran?
Just a very few. Let's see, Lions. So as part of Lions, I hope that everyone has had a chance to drive through Hammett. And within the last, I don't know, probably 6 months to a year, you guys notice the transformation and the change in having the welcome to the city of Livingston sign disappear first, and then it came back, and now it's almost done. Right now, within the last couple of weeks, as part of Lions, who has been in charge of or taking on the lead to refurbish it and clean it up and paint it and rebuild it and all that. This second welcome to the city of Livingston sign has been a little bit more work than the first one because the letters broke and they were fixed. But right now, if you get a chance to drive by on Hammett, now you'll be able to see it almost 95% complete, beautifully painted, bright yellow, brownish letters. And we're just waiting for a few more of the signs that need to go on it, and it should be completed hopefully within the next month or so. And that's already part of history. And I believe that those signs were part of a grant that Ms. Barbara was part of and that she worked on when she was in the council. So, I'm honored to be part of the group that is actually taking the opportunity and volunteering our time of community members to be able to rebuild, refurbish, and to still keep them alive. So, next, also, I was able to participate. Thank you for doing your work. It was a really happy moment after 4 years in a way of a lot of hard work, a lot of collaboration between different agencies and different groups and different departments within the city to be able to obtain I think it was $7.some million grant to be able to build the new, what's going to be the new rec complex. Being there in person to be able to do the transfer of the keys of the building, it's when is that going to happen again? Hopefully soon, but that's already, it's great to be part of that. It's part of history. So that was on the 21st, and a few days later, I was able to participate at the Livingston Farmers Association ribbon cutting ceremony for their new building. Probably by today, they already got product running through the new machinery and bringing more employment. And the new building, or their new additional building to the Farmers Association, it's on, what's the name of the street? Eucalyptus, yes. So it's huge. I believe it's 50,000 square feet. and it's just huge. So it's great to see that. That's also part of history, that I've been learning, and that eventually we will be transferring that information to our newer generations to come. So, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Maria Soto?
Well, I'm glad Mrs. Ratzloff is here because when Councilmember Moran brought up the Lions Club signage, we did start that project. It was a collaboration between the VFW and Lions helped pick it up because Ms. Donna Duffy was also involved. I had Ken Nolan approach because he had asked for the new metal signs, and again, this would be another question. Who do we ask to allow new signs to be up? Because I think we just replaced what was up there, but I'm seeing in other cities, they have many of their service groups, civic groups up on the welcoming signs, such as, Kiwanis and Rotary, FFA, YMI. So if you can recall, Mrs. Ratzloff, who in the beginning established those signs, because I would like to add and invite other clubs to participate in that, or if that would be something to address with the city council or city manager, who would be able to put their signage up and what was the criteria. Because when Nolan asked me, because I need to get new signs, I said, well, I don't know who to ask. We just put them, and I wanted to add a few organizations, but I didn't know who to ask. So if the old council can recall who did that, or if we have something that we can make criteria for, and we can work on that.
I'll research. I know the signs or the work that it's put in there, it's from the Lions Association. They organized the beautifying of the signage, but I can do a little bit more research on that.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
I don't have anything to report today.
Thank you. In regards to myself, definitely attended the passing of the keys, a very important event in our history as a city. I know the Recreation Department and other individuals worked very hard to obtain the grant that we're paying for a new rec plex that's going to benefit the community and the youth as a whole. So a very nice moment. I'm going to appreciate the help that went into all of that from not only the city, but also from the Livingston Farmers Association for working with the city, being patient with us, awaiting news from if we got the grant or not. I know we waited 2 rounds, or we were able to get it in the 2nd round. So we appreciate their patience and their work with us. It's going to be very exciting to see that completed, and looking forward to it. It's going to be benefiting a lot of our youth and the community as a whole. So very exciting. That's all I have to report. We're going to go ahead and move on to consent
Mayor?
agenda. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just ask one question? Something I forgot to ask real quick.
Go ahead.
And then I don't know if this is a question to Recreation or the city manager. Because I know at one time we were considering talking about the use of the now vacant barbershop. Is that something that is in the process, or is that something that we're waiting for Recreation to decide how to use that, or just an update on?
City staff, we have a recommendation of the use for that vacant facility, and we will be bringing an item to council for review and approval to move forward with. I believe Recreation has shared the interest to conduct some classes for our seniors and youth. So we will be bringing an item to council in the future to request approval for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar considered routine or non-controversial will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council or city manager request that specific items be removed. I know we wanted to pull item 16, correct? For further discussion or questions. So we'll do that. In regards to the rest of the consent calendar, council, any motions?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a motion by Mayor Protem Garcia? Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Jose Moran. Monica, could we get a roll
Please
call?
cast your votes. Motion approved by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Item 16, approve Livingston Youth Football Organization fee waiver request. Resolution approving the facility fee waiver requested by the Livingston Youth Football Organization, totaling $1,260. Vanessa or Rec?
Well, Mayor, we just wanted to bring up to, and share that we received this request for a fee waiver, and it was brought up to my attention that the license for the status of the not-for-profit, it is not in compliance at the moment. So we do have attached to the item that a letter from the CPA's office that it is, it's being worked on, and they're waiting for a decision from the franchise tax board. But I wanted to bring that up to the council as you review this item and consider this fee waiver approval. And if there are any questions, staff will be happy also to answer.
Thank you, Vanessa. Council, do we have any questions regarding this item? Okay, we're gonna, question? No? Okay, we're gonna take it out to any public comment regarding this item.
Before we voted, I did want to just make a comment on this just for knowledge for you guys. So youth football has been out of compliance for 3 years. And I have actually let them, and recommended to you guys to let them. But when do we stop? Because what we do for one, of course, we need to do for everyone. And so my recommendation is that they pay until they're up to date. And maybe that would expedite the process of them getting in line, because either you have your nonprofit or you don't. There's not a gray area there. And so the problem is if another organization comes in and they're not compliant, then we're going to have to let them too. And I love youth football. I will go to bat for youth football. You know that. But at some point, it's not easy making these decisions, but what is the right decision to make? So that's all I have to say, unless you have questions.
Do council have any questions for Jackie? Any member of the council familiar with the current situation? Any member of the council aware of kind of the status or familiar with the group that could speak more about it?
If I may, I'll go ahead and read the letter that was provided to council to the youth program from the CPA. The state of California has my package, and I'm waiting for them to process it. Your status is still, with the franchise tax board, suspended. We have called them, and they said that they will get back to us when they process it, but are not giving me a timeline on it. Once my package is processed, your status will return back to active, and it will be retroactive back to when they suspended it, so there will be no gap in your nonprofit status. Let me know if you have any questions. David Bruner, CPA. So it is true. We have been back and forth with this process, but in the history for youth football, there was some overturning of some board members, 2 of which passed away, and that we were having to start over with our nonprofit status
If I
a
could,
couple of times.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt the council member, but is it possible, Mayor, that we take a 5-minute recess real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize to the public. I think there's something that we need to touch bases with. Okay.
Taking a break.
Is council okay with it? Just
Council, okay.
consensus that we take a 5-minute recess? Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Doug. Go ahead.
Is everybody back? Okay, Mayor, yeah, thank you for taking the break. We just wanted to reconfirm that Councilmember Soto didn't inadvertently participate in something, or she might have a conflict of interest after talking with her. There was a determination that she does not. Being just a member of the organization or on the board doesn't create a conflict of interest. She has no economic interest, or that wouldn't change her income that she receives or doesn't receive as a result of her voluntary. Sorry. So we determined that she does not have a conflict by her voluntary participation, even though that she serves as a member of the board, by the basis that she would not economically gain or be impacted in one way or another. And so we just wanted to reconfirm that before we proceeded with anything that would involve a vote that included money. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug. So that was just to give the brief history of why this process has been long, is because it has changed. Board members over the past, 2 members have passed away, and many of the IN numbers have been exchanged. So we've started many times, and find the correct numbers that belong to our group was a process. So again, our CPA is working on it. This letter was dated June 15th, 2022, so we are on top of this process, and we are not ignoring it, and we move forward with the correct paperwork every year. That's all I needed to say.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Anybody on the phone? All right, bring it back to council for any additional questions, comments, or motions.
I'll make the motion to waive it.
We have a motion on the table to approve the waive fever by Councilmember King. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Councilmember Maria Soto. Monica?
Please cast your votes. Motion approved by a vote of 4 and 1 abstain.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to item number 19 is discussion of potential action items. I know number 19 was requested that we separate the two item number 1 or 1 and 2, so we'll start with item 1.
So Mayor, just to be clear, item 1 would be just a discussion of the contract extension with MCSO for interim police chief services. So we'll just call that item, for purposes of the record, item 1A. Well, I guess they're separately numbered. Never mind.
It'll be 19A and 19B.
They have their own number. And then we'd have a separate discussion on declare a state of local emergency due to the understaffed police department.
All right, sounds good. So the first item, we accept contract termination letter from the Merced County Sheriff's Office for interim chief of police services and approve the following: 1, contract extension and with Merced County Sheriff's Office for interim police chief services.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Mayor, with past president, without any kind of, in an abundance of caution, the mayor pro tem is going to recuse himself from participation in these 2 items.
well, the second item I will, if it goes that way, because I have a right with the city of Livingston, not the first one.
Yeah, correct.
I'm sorry.
Correct.
That's correct, only to item 1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll call you. All right, item 19.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. Back in November 2021, the city requested assistance from the County of Merced Sheriff's Office to provide interim police, chief of police services. We were in need, and the Sheriff's Office was very responsive and quickly provided that help to the city. Within that agreement, it was set for us to have these services available for the city until we would recruit a permanent police chief. We did that recruitment. We didn't have a pool of qualified candidates. They were either not what the city would put forward as a candidate for the community, or they recused themselves from continuing the process. So we were back at square one, and to not having been able to complete that recruitment. At that moment, we started to explore different options of what it would look like, what the road for the city would look like in terms of leadership. One of those options, well, the option of continuing and extending the services was always in the table, but at the same time, another option was to explore and try to promote within a second in command in order for us to have that reliability of having a person that could serve as an interim chief in the event that we may have another vacancy in the future. With that said, we brought that plan forward back in April, and we brought it forward 2 times, in which we have not been able to have a successful decision to make this contract extension get the approval for that contract extension. We are now here bringing this item forward to you. We received, last Tuesday, we received the letter of intent to terminate the contract, that it is set to expire in September of 30th of 2022 with the Sheriff's Office. And I wanted to bring this item forward to the council as a discussion, because this definitely creates a series of concerns for our police department. We are responsible, I say we, city management and council is responsible for ensuring that public safety services are provided to our residents here in Livingston, and I owe that, I have that responsibility, and in the event that we don't have that steady leadership position in our city, we are looking at the possibility of not having enough staff members in our police department, and that is a big concern. And that is something that we want to definitely prevent. Sheriff's Office is very supportive that that we can mend the situation, that we can continue to move forward and work on working on a contract extension if the council wishes to proceed that way. If I don't have anything of that matter, I will be looking at not having enough staff, since staff feels that we don't have a stable environment for them, and I'm looking at potentially not having personnel to conduct the basic operations of the police department. Under that event, we are looking at we would be facing a local emergency as far as the city, and we would be seeing. I'm asking to declare that state of local emergency in order for us to be able to seek for.
Vanessa, just because the Mayor Pro Tem is going to participate in the other one.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm here, Council.
Thank you, Vanessa. So in regards to this item, I'll open up for council comments, questions. I'll start it off. Obviously, the public safety is one of the number one things the city as local government has to provide to its residents. And I believe, obviously, having a sustainable and responsible plan in place and leadership, it's necessary in order for us to provide that public safety. Obviously, I would love to have our own police chief, a qualified individual, have somebody within our ranks, possibly trained and ready to go, or recruit somebody that's going to benefit the city. Obviously, I don't think we're there yet. So, as much as obviously I don't want another agency, running the police department, I think in this situation it's our best case scenario. I mean, I think Chuck has been doing a great, excellent job. I mean, with additional support from leadership from the sheriff's department. I think they provided that leadership that was lacking in our department. Very productive overall. I've seen a lot of good things happening out of the police department in the past few months since they've been here. So I am very thankful for I've been very transparent about their, being thankful for their support when we needed them the most. So in regards to myself, I would like to see that continue. And have a plan in place where they're going to help us get that next person ready to go within or recruit somebody outside. So, but currently, we need that leadership in place to continue with public safety in our city. I think it's very important that we keep that in mind as the council, that public safety is one of the number one priorities for us, for our citizens. Additionally, we also have a responsibility to the men and women wearing the uniform. If they feel happy, protected, they feel content that they have a good leader in their ranks, we should also pay attention to that and acknowledge that they're advocating to keep the current status, the sheriff's department there as a chief. So two things, acknowledge the people wearing the uniform and also the community. So. I've been pretty, like I said, transparent. I'm supportive of extending the contract. I think it's the best case for our community at this time. I might not like that it's a different agency, but I think, I think the Sheriff's Department and this Livingston Police Department have, become a family and work together to make things better for Livingston and protect our community as a whole. So that's what I have to say. Anybody else, council?
So I think it's very important to be able to have safety in any community, whether even if this was the situation at another city nearby, we would be concerned. Because if there's no safety in that area, more than likely something is going to happen next door. So I was, probably everybody knows the story of how, not that I was against that particular uniform, but I was the only one against that contract. Once again, I said it before, I was not expecting for much to happen when whoever came into the position, other than my only hope was to keep the boat afloat, to not let it sink. It exceeded my expectations. And more than anything, the expectations of the residents of the city of Livingston. Many times, and most of the times, the residents are my biggest gauge. They're the ones telling me what they like and they don't like. They're the ones often guiding my decisions. And that is why I'm here. I should be here, I am here to do what they want me to do. Sometimes, not every time am I 100% behind the idea of what most of the residents want, but I have to think of the majority of the residents. We never will ever have the opportunity to satisfy 100% of the community. But if we do and think and make decisions based on the majority, that's the best decision that we can make, and that's why we're here for. At this time, whenever I hear recommendations or I want to do this, I want to do that, okay, so what's the backup plan? If you want us to do something and this is going to happen, what's the other alternative? What is the option? What's going to happen? If we vacate this position, what's the option? The problem is nobody comes up with solutions. And we cannot, let me speak for myself again. I cannot think of only one option. I got to think of option 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and sometimes 6, 7, and 8. And what's going to happen with this scenario? What's going to happen with this scenario? What's going to happen if we do this? And the biggest thing and my biggest concern, once again, is safety. I think I've been the biggest advocate to eventually have our own chief of police, per se, that gets to wear our uniform. Not that I got nothing against the uniform, but, But the thing is, I notice that many times the decisions that we tend to make are very short term. We got to think long term. What's going to happen in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months? The biggest thing with any department, in anywhere, it's stability. If we don't have stability within that department, whoever is working in that department is not going to be happy. They're not going to be performing, But stability is what will keep things going until we achieve, or until we work on, to the goal that we want to get to. At this point, I do believe we have stability, and that's the biggest thing. If you can give me options to what to do if we don't extend this contract, what are those options? I haven't heard in months. I have not heard one option. from anyone in this council. If you give me a good option, give me good reasons, I will support it. But so far, in months, I have not heard one option during our conversations here or individually of the dais at all. And so what's going to happen? What can happen in a month from now? Either we continue and extend this contract, and hopefully, eventually, stability comes back. People working in the department are happy. If they're happy, the residents will be happy. They will feel safe. If not, then, the other option is to have an acting chief, I guess. That's what you might call it. I'm not sure I want to be in their position because of everything that they have to put themselves into in front of, with potentially people leaving, being understaffed, under all that pressure for just an acting position, and not knowing what this council is going to do next month or next week. So it's all about stability and safety. If you have an idea, please share it with me. Give me good reasons to support it, and I will. But at this moment, I haven't heard one yet in months. So I would like to hear from the rest of the council, and I would like to hear from the residents and see what they have to say, and take everything into consideration. Let's stop doing short-term Band-Aid things. Let's fix things right. Let's do it the right way. Let's set up a process, because when you do things the fast and easy way, that Band-Aid is not, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last too long. So let's do it the right way. Let's take our time. Let's make sure that we have someone that either is trained or gets trained to be in that position, that is strong enough to tackle whatever comes their way. So I'm open to suggestions. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yeah.
may I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Mayor, being that this position, it is the chief of police reports to city manager, I have taken the lead on exploring the different options available for us as the city. And I can tell you that I have called retirees, I have called other law enforcement agencies, I have called interim placements for executive recruiters or management professionals, and they have all pointed me, because of the day-to-day activities, the projects that we have ongoing, the challenges that we have within the police department, they all point me back to the sheriff's office, because they have the resources available. We all know that staffing, it's very scarce around the region, around everywhere. So those agencies continue to point me back to this being an option for the city to explore, an option for us to take advantage of the help that we're being offered. And this is normal in any other jurisdiction. Whenever there is a time of need, normally the sheriff's office, it's the one that offers or provides the help to those cities until they can get back into filling the permanent position. I have done research. We did it in the previous city where I came from in Lathrop. We contracted with the sheriffs. Stanislaus County has different agreements for services. It's different, but recently Rio Vista and Solano County, they face a similar situation, and they reached out to their sheriff's office, because that is just the normal approach of when a city faces this type of challenge to be able to ask for that help.
Thank you, Vanessa. So, council, other members of the council.
Yeah, like, I agree, safety is number one for us. But then I also believe the city needs the city needs a police chief that represents the city of Livingston. I was actually one of the council members that voted for the sheriff's department to come to town. But within the last 3 months, when the previous contract was denied, since that day, we've had 2 officers, according to Under Sheriff Gibson, that left the Livingston Police Department, and they ended up going to the sheriff's office, Merced Sheriff's Office. In the same email, it says you have 3 more that are in the background, which it takes 4 months to hire, which they know that people are leaving. Then it says 3 more are potentially thinking about also going, and I mean, finding out, calling a couple of the officers, trying to figure out what's going on. Is this true? I think it was a bluff. All the recruitment from the Livingston Department to the Sheriff's Office, it started 3 months ago. From first month to first 9 months, everything was fine. I think they did a great job. But once they found out that we might not extend the contract, they started recruiting. And what the city manager said, we are short-staffed, is that what you said?
Potentially.
As of right now, we are overstaffed.
No, we're not.
I'm gonna prove it. Monica, can you pull up the sheet that I asked you to pull up?
You're understaffed because you don't have a police chief.
We're overstaffed. So this was the fiscal year budget that we council approved. I have names of every officer here. We have one more than we're required to have. So we cannot be understaffed right now, according to you. I don't know where you're getting, I don't know if you know the employers that are still working here. I have names of 3 sergeants, which we have there, which we have. We have 3 corporals. Tell me if I'm wrong, Chief.
You're dead wrong.
How many how many sergeants do you have right now?
Let me give you the numbers.
No,
Okay.
the numbers are right there.
I'm going off my notes. Okay, you have a chief of police position that I filled.
Yes, right there.
You don't have a captain.
Yeah, the
You don't
captain
have a
was-
lieutenant.
I'm sorry, can I answer your questions as you're going? So that way we're not
Sure,
getting.
go ahead.
So as of right now, we have you.
Yep, you got me filling that role.
Yes, the captain was discussed that the sergeants are gonna do that because they're getting the extra 5% pay. That was
Right.
voted, so we've never had a captain.
Yes, you have.
We haven't had it since
It's on
Soria.
your list of personnel right there. You don't have a captain, it's vacant.
We froze it,
You froze it.
yes. So that's why it's been vacant for the last 2 years.
You froze the lieutenant position.
I didn't freeze it, the council froze it.
Okay, well, the
Okay.
council froze the captain
Okay,
position.
what about
too.
sergeants? How many sergeants do you
You
have?
have 3 sergeants right now,
So-
but
so-
what you're not taking into account is one of those sergeants is talking about leaving. You don't know that, I do, because I run the department.
But we'll deal with that when it comes. I think it's a bluff. And I'm assuming he's trying to go to the sheriff's office, right?
I don't know where he's gonna go,
Okay, so right now we have 3 sergeants, so as of right now, we're covered.
right now.
Okay, well, what about the corporals?
You have all 3 corporals.
Okay, what about patrol officers?
You've got 10 patrol officers.
Which
You
will
have
we-
4, 2 of which are detectives in the late stages of going somewhere.
Two-
Late stages,
To the sheriff's department.
correct,
So, okay, so as of right now, we have 10 police officers.
right now.
Okay. Go on.
Just found out today, we're gonna lose 2 full-time dispatchers, not to the sheriff's office. What,
It's funny why everybody's suddenly quitting right when your contract is up. That's why I'm laughing.
you're giving them a great example,
Yes.
okay? The office assistant in the late stages of hiring to leave the department. She's not sure if she wants to be in law enforcement anymore. Your administrative services manager, who's basically my right-hand man at the police department, is not sure that she wants to work here anymore.
Hey, Chief, if I could just because some of these, there's a single person that occupies it and it's
So-
easily identifiable, if we could,
I'm not going to give their names. That's personnel stuff.
no, there's only one person who occupies it, so you can figure out who it is. So if we could just not give maybe.
You got 3 support staff. They're going to be leaving.
So right now, you're trying to tell us if we don't sign you, they are gonna leave.
I'm not telling you what to
No,
do.
no, I mean,
I'm
that's
giving
what-
you the situation of your
So-
police department.
So if, okay, hypothetically, if we hire you, we keep you, everybody else is gonna, everybody
I
that you
would
name,
definitely work to try to keep them here. Why would I want them to leave?
why would you
That
want
makes
them to
my
leave?
job harder.
Why
That-
would you want them to leave regardless?
That makes anyone's job harder when they're trying to run the department.
See, I think your priority is the sheriff's department.
Well, and
I-
you can think that,
That's my
but you're
opinion.
dead wrong.
I think your actions are speaking right there. Everybody that you named is in background, I'm sorry, everybody that's trying to leave or gonna leave, all got job offers from the Merced Sheriff's Office.
I can't control where they apply and where they want to go to work at.
Yeah, so I think it's a bluff. I don't think nobody's gonna give up our sergeants make $110,000 right here.
Okay, then it can be a bluff. I'm done.
And yours, and your lieutenants make 90,000. I don't think somebody's gonna take a $20,000 pay cut to get a lower position. I think this is a hostile takeover.
Hey, okay. Council, guys, please keep it down in the public.
This is,
Keep it down. Keep it down in the public, please.
excuse me, guys,
Keep it down, please.
I think it's a hostile takeover. We're getting threats, because when the undersheriff, when the email was given, sent from you to us,
Yeah,
you knew exactly where they're going,
where's that?
the sheriff's office. You said the 2 officers already left? What did
We have one officer that left that applied.
Only one, and the
that
second one is
applied
background.
prior to us coming here.
Now, this is information I'm getting from your officers, Chief.
So
I'm not
I'll
making
give
this
you
up.
I do all the hiring at the sheriff's office. I'm responsible for hiring staff. And to be honest with you, I think the reason you see an outflux of staff from the Livingston Police Department is volatility and stability. And so that's, I think, what you're dealing with as a council, as at the city. We, as a sheriff's office, are also dealing with that because I don't have the staff to fill the needs of my agency, that being a lieutenant. So there are several people in the stages of hiring with the sheriff's office. I've been holding back the floodgates. I've communicated this with several council members, including yourself, that I wasn't going to try to not hire anyone, and I was going to try to keep them in the city of Livingston. You're giving pay numbers that aren't quite accurate. The pay at the sheriff's office is substantially more as a deputy sheriff than as a police officer. A sergeant is just barely less than a sergeant here. And that's with a degree. And so you take those pay incentives to the city of, or to the county, the pay is very, very similar. And so the pension at the county is substantially better. And so you start competing and these guys start looking at where are they gonna have a longevity in a career. The 2 people that applied with me are both investigators. And the reason that they're concerned, and I think the reason why they've applied to the sheriff's office, is there's supervisors and leadership within the agency that have indicated that if they were in a leadership role at the agency and executive, which potentially could be, that they say that they're going to eliminate investigations and move that role to patrol. And I think that concerns them. And someone that hasn't been in an investigation role, they don't really know what they're talking about. And I think that scares those individuals, and they want to work at an agency that's more progressive. The last thing that I want to do is take over the Livingston Police Department duties. I think the sheriff's made it clear, I made it clear, I don't get any more money to come down to the city council and have discussions with you guys about what the needs of the city of Livingston. The county is offering you this, but I'm not going to do it at my own detriment. So that's why I've had communications with multiple city council. I've had meetings scheduled as late July trying to come to some resolution, but the last time I got stood up. So that's when I gave the notice. And so that's where we're at. And if you have any questions, I'm more than willing to answer them. I'm willing to stay long-term with the council, but I need a long-term commitment from the city. And I'm saying a year. Whatever, it's going to take you a year to recruit and retain a chief anyway. So I'm willing to support you. I'm willing to do whatever is needed for the community. The sheriff's office is fully invested in the community of Livingston and the city. Currently, the city cannot fill the SRO role at Livingston High School. The Merced Union High School District was very upset with the city over the terms, and so they reached out to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is providing SRO service of the city of Atwater for Atwater and Buac High Schools, and we will extend that contract with the city of with Livingston High School, and we'll have a deputy starting next week at the high school. So full transparency, I think you see what's going on. Law enforcement services are moving to a more regional approach. I don't really like that. as a manager, it takes more duties to me, but it is something that I think we need to look at as a region and as a community. Now, that's not what we want as the sheriff's office. This is something that you guys are going to have to want to participate in and be part of. We have additional resources for the city of Livingston if it comes to that point where you don't have staffing, but those are really conversations I don't want to have. And I think I've explained to you, multiple people on the council, about SB2 and the unknowns with SB2. And SB2 essentially, January 1, is that post is going to regulate law enforcement officers and basically give them a license. And so they're going to have to go back several years and they're going to decertify law enforcement officers. So you know of any law enforcement officer that's got a second chance at a law enforcement career, which some of them work at the city of Livingston, potentially they could be decertified. And that's what I've been trying to ask you guys to wait. Let's get through SB2. Let's see what that looks like moving forward. And then you guys can make a determination how you guys want to deal with executive leadership at the police department. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Councilmember?
While you're still there, I know that you had said that you reached out to several, if not all of us. I was never contacted, but again, I'm hearing conversation throughout. Again, public safety is our greatest concern. And again, I know I've said this before, I would truly like to see our department as Livingston Police Department. But my question for you is that in this letter that you have addressed to us, and you've pointed out that it was clear that 2 of the city council members are putting their personal agendas ahead of the needs of the Livingston PD, along with the city of Livingston. Who are you referring to?
As I stated in the letter, there's 2 individuals that are putting their personal agenda in front of public safety. And to sit up there and say that you haven't been reached out to is unfathomably not true. I had a meeting scheduled with you down here with the city, with the mayor. You didn't show up. Had another meeting scheduled with you on July 21st with the mayor, and you did not show up. I was told that was a miscommunication. Not sure what that was, but the last meeting I gave comments at, we had made an arrangement. So to sit here and tell me that no one's ever reached out to you is unfathomably a lie.
How can you have a
No.
meeting with the mayor when myself and the mayor had a meeting with you? That's a violation of a Brown Act. The mayor can't be talking with
When did we meet?
with myself, you, and the mayor,
When?
with your captain at the city hall when the city manager was there with the city attorney. That's the only time I met with you.
That's true.
So we've had the conversation with the mayor, so he can't really meet with anybody else. So you have to reach out to Councilmember Moran, Councilmember Soto by yourself. So mayor cannot continue to have meetings with other council members.
As I said, I was scheduled to have a meeting with her. Who the attendees were going to be is those attendees know who they are. But I had a meeting scheduled, Ms. Soto.
No, that meeting was scheduled with the mayor right after you were here, and it would have been on the exchange of the keys, and it was said by the mayor that he had MCAG and that the exchange of we just couldn't do it.
No, that's not true.
No?
It was at the city-county dinner.
I was there.
And you were all going to attend, and then we were going to meet afterwards. And that wasn't going to be a violation of the Brown Act. We were going to have a conversation, me and you, afterwards.
I think that was a miscommunication.
And that's where the
Yeah,
miscommunication
we thought it
is.
was a transfer of the keys, and you thought it was the city county dinner.
So that action was not deliberate, and it's truly not a lie. It was a miscommunication between whomever tried to set that up because it was not you with me.
Okay, but you just stated
And
that
then
no one
another
reached
question?
out to you, and that's not true.
You didn't personally, the mayor did. Also, again, you didn't answer my question. Who were those city council members that you have blatantly pointed out that had a personal agenda?
We know who the 2 people on the council have personal agenda.
What's that?
We know who the two are. One of them's you, and you're upset about us not supporting zoning changes, which is not in the purview of law enforcement. And Mr. Kang's upset that his brother was terminated while Chuck was acting as the chief of police in a personnel matter. Those are the 2 reasons.
What zoning changes are you referring to?
Selling of marijuana at the business right here at the turnabout down here on Main Street. There is considerable interest from you and some of the people that you know to get zoning change there, and they approached the chief about supporting zone change, and we made it clear that that's not our purview and that we're not going to support it. And then suddenly, there's no longer support from you towards Chuck as the chief of police.
I don't see what you're saying. Hey, come on,
We have to, I would ask everybody to maintain decorum.
I would appreciate
Please,
it.
thank you.
We don't need applause from the audience.
Okay, please, let's keep it going.
Have I ever talked to you about a zoning text amendment?
You have not spoken to me about it, no.
Chuck Hell, have I ever talked to you about a zoning text amendment? Have I ever talked to you about zoning?
Can you go to the mic, please?
You have come to my office with the city manager before to talk to me about that. We also talked about the comments that continue about a federal court case that I was involved in that nobody knows anything about other than what they read in the newspaper. So yeah, you have had conversations with me about it. And again, I reassured you, I have no bearing on what ordinances you guys pass or don't pass.
And I realize that. You don't make the policy, you enforce the law. But in that meeting that Vanessa took me to, we were going to talk about the background that I was hearing rumors on. Our conversation was not about cannabis.
We talked about both things.
Okay, initially brought up by yourself.
We talked
but-
about both things.
Any other questions? And council, any other follow-up questions?
No questions directly to the undersheriff, but I think probably for this, it's going to be a comment, so probably just wait until it comes back, just to give.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So we're going to open up for public comment. Oh, sorry, Doug, go ahead.
Can you just clarify the resolution, since that's what's under consideration, just as it relates to this one? Because we need to clarify what's being considered. Sorry. I'm asking the city manager to clarify the resolution that's being adopted, because there's some things that she needs to clear up.
Yes, thank you, Doug. The resolution that we have in draft at the moment states that both parties can terminate the agreement within 90 days of giving notice. However, we do have an outdated contract that Section 7, it has a typo, and it will be corrected once, if approved.
So just for clarification, can we get the sheriff's department just to clarify that they're adding the 90-day provision in? That's just a typo.
Thank you.
And the reason being for the audience is I don't want to adopt a resolution that's incorrect or inconsistent with the contract, so.
Yeah, either party can terminate the contract. I do believe the contract that's in front of the council, though, is not the most current version. We've sent another version to county council for their review. Since our discussions last time, the county has come to terms with unrepresented management with a 6% pay increase. There's additional pay incentives for the captain position, so those costs are not reflected in that contract. And the contract, I think we currently have through start September 1 through August.
So just so we're clear on what would be under consideration for the council, there'd be a change to we'd probably ask if we were to adopt it, or if there was a motion that it include language to authorize the city manager to execute the contract in a form that's substantially similar to what's there, with the understanding that the termination time, that there would be mutual termination of the contract with 90 days notice, and also that the start date of the contract is aligned so that it starts when this contract that's currently in ends.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take it out for public comment at this time. Remember, we have 3 minutes per public comment.
So a lot to cover in 3 minutes here. You guys get to ramble on and yell and scream and act like children and try to defend yourselves to a parent instead of acting professional. What I want to know is, since there was another person stated in here, let me see, where was it? Supporting a reinstatement of a family member of the police department. Well, I saw the mayor pro tem leave, right? And that's one. It's 8:30. My math is bad at 8:30, but I'm pretty good at it. That means one of you that still should step outside. I'm assuming it's you. You should step outside because you have special interest in this. And what I don't appreciate is you yelling at the people that we're trying to get to help our community. It's not your turn to talk. I get 1 minute and 59 seconds, and then you get to just sit and be quiet. As hard as that's going to be for you, it's my time. I don't appreciate this. Vanessa, you said you talked to, ma'am, if I may call you Vanessa, you said you spoke to, it says like 1,900 people. There was 1,900 candidates that you went through, and you put it online, and thank you. And you said the majority of them pushed you towards, or not pushed you towards, but recommended the sheriff's department. So why are we yelling at the people, that the 1,900 people that supposedly were interviewed or came up to, in conversation, said, go to the sheriff's department? All of a sudden, we're yelling at the people who've been protecting our community? I don't understand that. I don't understand this. I did this, I did that. No, you haven't done anything. None of you have. None of you. You want more ideas? I don't hear you giving more ideas. Just hire them. They're doing their job. They show up to work. I don't see you guys showing up except to yell. And cannabis in our main street here, where people walk down, where our children, what a ridiculous notion. This is our 100-year anniversary. Is that how we're going to honor our past? Is that how we're going to honor those folks that came up here before? It's ridiculous. I hope this whole council's gone, all of you. I don't think any of you should be up there. I think that you guys do some good work at times, but I think that your guys' personal interest is garbage.
Vanessa, can you elaborate? When did you talk to 1,900 residents?
Just to clarify, the recruitment efforts, the firm that we recruited to conduct that recruitment, their report, they provided outreach to approximately 1,900 applicants.
Did each one of them they recommend them to the sheriff's office?
That is part of the report.
Ready, Mr. Mayor? Thank you. Good evening, council. First of all, a little bit of clarification. I'm sorry, Mr. Kang, but I believe you're wrong in some ways. I've been involved in the city for a long time, and there has been times where large number of people move on, especially with the police department. We've had 3 or 4 people move on to other agencies. That's nothing new. I'm not saying, just that happens to be the sheriff's office. I'm not saying there's anything going on in there, but we've had to where multiple people have gone at the same time. Now, when you guys started this contract at the sheriff's office, I stood here and said, no, we should not be doing this. I am not having to defend what I was opposed to it. Now, if you guys don't want the sheriff's office, fine, bring back Markle. Give direction to to Vanessa, I'm sorry, Ms. Porteo, give her direction. I'm sure he'll be here by the next couple of weeks. Problem is solved. You don't have the sheriff's office, you don't have the conflict. But you guys won't do that because you guys hired him and fired him. I don't know why. I wish you guys would explain to us why we're going through all this. I don't like the brown and green uniform. No, I believe we should have a blue. None of you guys have proposed that what we're going to do in September 1st. None of you have told us. You're going to be leaderless, and who? Ms. Portillo, she doesn't have post-training. She can't take over the police department. Who's going to do it? You guys? None of you guys have qualified for that. You guys forget, public safety is the most important service city provides to its residents, and you guys have just decimated this damn thing. I'm sorry for my language. Mr. Mayor, I'm glad that you had a reawakening on this, and I see your support. Thank you for at least looking at public safety in general. I don't know what your internal feelings are, but at least you're looking at a little bit of a longer picture.
I've always supported their contract, just so you know.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That was me. I said I've always supported the contract extension.
Yes. So Gagandeep, I've known you for a long time. You're not a bad guy, okay? I know that. Do what's good for the city. Do what's good for the people. Quit playing games with our public safety. Maria, come on. You're better than this. I've known you for a long time. You are for public safety. Extend the contract. Take the time, like I said before. Find somebody qualified. If you don't want to go through all that, give Vanessa the authorization. I'm sure John Marco can be here real quick. But you guys are not going to do that. So please, stop the bickering, stop everything. There's no conspiracy from the sheriff's office. People are not leaving. We've had people leave for different agencies. It's nothing new. Get over it. Do something right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
I think I'm in Livingston. And one of the main reasons of coming to Livingston was safety. And safety happens to be a big topic of interest this evening. Everybody seems to agree that we need public safety enforcement. A statistic from last year states that in 2021, as far as violent crime, with the population and stuff, statistics stated 1 in 221 chance of being mugged, robbed, or hurt here in Livingston. That's something to be proud of. Something to definitely be proud of. My kids go to school here. Those guys didn't do that. The police department did that. Where's our police department? It's a growing concern. Updating this contract, how much money is that? Why don't we have a police chief? Why do we have a sheriff's department? And now all of our police officers running to the sheriff's department. Better pension? You asked for suggestions. Just a suggestion. Stop firing people. Hire them back. We need our sheriff's department, don't get me wrong. But I had a lot of pride for this town. Not anymore. Not like this.
Council, from the beginning, when the sheriff's department came in, I think they said that they were here to support the city until the city council decided to, from the beginning. They've been here supporting the city of Livingston, and like I said, because of the contract, but also because of conflict of interest. I stated in the past to Councilmember King that he's in conflict of interest, but obviously we don't have leadership in this city. The majority of this council has been aligned from the beginning, aligned supporting Councilmember King. I know the mayor is descending right now on this contract, but he's been aligned with him on everything else. There's been conflicts of interest today on the vote by Councilmember Soto. The city attorney advised her wrong. I'm not saying an attorney, but it's clearly advised wrong because she was benefiting from being on the board, benefiting another group. That's conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is you allowing, advising wrong Officer Gagandeep Kang, that he can speak. He can't speak. He's benefiting his brother. Obviously, with his verbal outbreak with the sheriff's personnel, you can tell all he's doing is defending his brother. What his brother knows is that's how he knows everything that's going on in the police department. There's no leadership in the city. And I think the citizens of Livingston are fed up. It's all over social media. You know, we're a circus in the city, and I think that we need new leadership, and hopefully in November, that will change. You know, I think we need stability in the city. Thank you.
Mayor, council members, why are you on the dais? To make decisions for the residents, the people that voted for you. You're not there to advocate for your brother to get hired back. You're not there to advocate for Dwight Larks to get his cannabis business downtown. You're there to represent us, our needs, our preferences, and you just sit there and ignore everything that we're saying and that we're asking you. The simplest thing of just opening up a discussion to have a conversation with residents, you don't do. You make decisions on your own without getting any feedback from us. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for being honest and truthful about what they experienced. And let's be honest, people are leaving the department not because of the sheriff, they're leaving because of you.
Okay, can I answer a couple of questions?
We're still doing public comment.
Yeah, let's close public comment.
Go ahead.
We got to finish it, but, you know, after that, and then it's time for council comments, additional council comments.
I didn't come here to speak on this topic. I came just to support my dad. And I think it's a good contrast when you look at the history of Livingston public servants. Joe Alvarez, Orville Young, Marge, just the list of all the people that you celebrated tonight that put community over their own interest. They didn't do it for a paycheck. They didn't do it for whatever interest they had. They didn't do it for Winton Ireland Insurance or Campini Insurance. They did it because it was their community. And I would ask that you do the same. I would ask that you do the same. The interaction you had with the sheriff, it's not going to help hiring the next chief. You know, your public, what you put out affects who's going to apply. And I feel like as you try to hire a chief of police, I tried to think of a good analogy. It's like a group of arsonists trying to hire a firefighter. You know, you have a PR problem as a council. Okay, you need to work on public trust. You need to build public trust, and you need to put your personal agenda aside and put the community first, just like the people that we honored earlier tonight did. That's it.
Well, my name is Dwight Larks, and I'm a proud former resident of the city of Livingston. I grew up here. My house was actually right here where we're at right now. When I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I used to walk over to the police department and translate for the investigators that were trying to solve crimes in the city. And I remember working with a lot of the different people that are still in law enforcement in different areas. I read the letter by the undersheriff that Maria Soto, or I guess I heard you explain that Maria Soto is putting her personal agenda before the city because I've heard her be favorable towards cannabis because it lowers opioid overdoses, it lowers alcoholism, it lowers tobacco use. So all of those positive things that cannabis does are actually favorable for the community. But you may not know that, and this gentleman here may not know that. that those things do that. It's interesting that opioids and alcohol and cigarettes, all the things that cannabis reduces, are sold along Main Street, but cannabis is still being used to sort of shame people. And once they figure all that out, they'll understand their error. But I want to correct you, Undersheriff. I don't have a zoning text amendment on file. I terminated my zoning text amendment prior to meeting with the current chief, Chuck Hale. And so I don't have anything in the process, and I haven't had anything in the process for quite a while. I'm not sure if you were aware of that or not. So I don't know how, I got brought up into your vernacular in terms of that somehow, my name is being brought up as being someone who has something pending. I have 0 pending. In fact, when I went to meet your chief, Chuck Hale, here, I went to go meet him as a chief. And it was Chuck Hale that brought up cannabis to me at the meeting, and I corrected him and I said, I'm not here for cannabis, and he stuck his finger in my face right in front of your sheriff, Vern Warnicki, and he said, yes, you are. You're trying to get cannabis on Main Street. And I tried to explain to the individual that I don't have a zoning text amendment going anymore. I was just there to meet him, as I've met almost every chief of police in my town here. But he was just blasted on I don't know what, and kept sticking his finger in my face, and that's who he is. I mean, that's how we know. We just saw him pretty much explode up here. So in terms of the chief, I would say don't bring in a person who has a record like this individual. If people are leaving the city and going there, the longer they're here, the more people are gonna leave. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anybody on the phone?
Yes, this is Sister Kate at Sisters of the Valley. And I want to say one thing. I was on Main Street in Livingston tonight, and all I could buy in your town is alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. So let's get off the marijuana bandwagon and let's quit bullying Maria and quit using the sheriff's department to bully people who understand plant medicine. When I have the Senator of California's Agriculture visiting us and telling the almond farmers, you will grow hemp because we have a water shortage and your almonds are ruining our land. So while some people are paying attention to the science, you're all stuck harping on that, so quit bullying about that. Number 2, shame on you. Shame on you for saying there's been no suggestions, no one's offering an alternative. Hey, did Warranty offer you someone besides a cop like Hale who's a crooked cop? You're all talking about stability. How does a crooked cop make stability in your town? He has a record of his shenanigans. So has Warranty come forward and said, hey, you guys, you don't want Hale? We'll give you somebody who doesn't have a public record of being charged for lying in court and for costing the county of Merced $500,000 in a settlement. Geez, you guys, I don't hear you making solutions. So I think you all should be ashamed of yourself, especially the sheriff's department, for bullying a woman who is trying to help the people. That is ridiculous. You all have to stop that. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, this meeting is reminiscent probably of just about any kind of meeting in America today. There's a lot of distrust, a lot of disrespect all the way around. Everybody likes to disrespect people. And it's no fun. It's no fun for anybody. And the bottom line is, people got to learn to work together. I mean, one way or the other. If you don't like somebody, I mean, figure out how to work with them. I mean, that's just the bottom line. If you can't figure out how to work for them, then you need to get out of town and go some other place. Because everybody's got to work together. My advice, if you want to get a police chief, is just focus on that. I mean, that's what I was taught to do, work 12, 14, 15 hours a day. I would focus on it and find somebody. If that's what, if that's what you want to do, then focus on it. Let's work on it, and I'm sure you can find somebody. If that's a focus. As far as the cannabis things, that's a bunch of bullshit, because there's alcohol sold on every corner in this town, in Atwater, and Merced, and everywhere else. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do weed, I don't do anything. I'm boring. But the point is, you can't tell me that alcohol is any better than marijuana, or marijuana is any better than alcohol. Everybody's so damn worried about having this thing over here. I mean, it's ridiculous. Focus on what you got to focus on, and those kind of things will take place. That's my opinion.
Any other public comment on the phone?
Yes, Jason Ross.
Go ahead.
Sorry I couldn't attend tonight. My daughter's got COVID. But, you know, I heard a lot about transparency and honesty in the last election. Think about it, council members. You guys took an oath. The citizens here are what important. They have a voice. They want to be heard. It's not about what you all want. As far as the sheriff, you got to make a contract, make it fair, give it limits. But you guys also terminated a great chief. Bring him back. From the members of the community that I talked to, he was making great progress. Being a council member is not about getting what you want. You guys work for the community. You got to listen to the community members, and you got to take their words to heart. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Anybody else on the phone? Okay, we're going to bring it back to council for additional discussion or action.
Okay, first of all, I want to answer a few of the questions these residents had. I have no personal interest in anything. You guys keep talking about my brother's case. It's gone to arbitration. Chuck, Gibson, undersheriff, the governor, nobody has control over that. So I have no control of bringing him back or firing him. The flag keeps flying on my head. And so stop using that as an excuse. Every time a decision, because the sheriff's department never brought that was never a concern 3 months ago. As soon as I said no, my name gets brought up. Oh, he's protecting his brother. Brother has nothing to do with this. And the other question that Gopal brought up, bring back Marco. I don't know why he got fired. It's a city managed personnel decision. We don't know. I want to find out. I got blamed for that too. Oh, you fired him because I have no control. You guys make it sound like it's a one-man show. That I have the power to fire city managers, police chiefs, the attorneys. I'm just one single vote. It seems like when you guys don't get your way, I'm the scapegoat. Hey, let's blame his brother so he can't vote. I have no conflict. Just get that on the record. It's like, that boat has sunk a year ago. To bring it up over and over, I have no control over that. See, it's to arbitration. I don't know if the attorney wants to talk about that. None of us have no control on that. So please, guys, stop using that as an excuse. We have our city treasurer right here on Facebook exposing, I don't know, facts. I don't know, you haven't provided no facts, but providing him guilty. Do you have any court paperwork shows that he's guilty? Yes, please do. Come on now.
This is regarding the.
No, I want to know, because if he's guilty in any court, please let me know.
A silent conversation after the meeting.
Yeah, so stop using that as a scapegoat for everybody that keeps saying, it seems like something doesn't get passed, guess what? Let's blame his brother. Enough is enough, guys. We have no control over that. None of us do. Councilmember Moran's right here with us. Mayor, Councilmember Soto. We have no control over anything. So stop blaming that on us. If any questions about why the police chief was fired, or why were they hired, that's a city manager's job.
Sir, please.
Not about personnel. We can't tell her.
We're not having those conversations. Continue.
No, I want people to know. I never told her who to fire and who to fire.
You guys could have a conversation after the meeting.
So that's just to let you guys know, any personnel items, we can't tell the city manager what to do.
So just to be very clear, From a legal perspective, the only people that the only two positions that the city council has authority over directly is the city manager and the city attorney. All other positions are under the direction of the city manager.
Let's stay on task and continue with the conversation regarding the item 19, which is the extension of contract with the sheriff's department.
I just want to make a comment in regards to what has been said over the course of time and my dealings with, well, just as a resident here, and I've been here for over nearly 50 years. So my interest in the city is the community and its safety and its residents, nothing more. And so to be called out in a formal letter with letterhead from the sheriff's department saying that I have a personal agenda, if I had one, that I would deliberately cause harm to my community in regards to cannabis, my support for cannabis commerce. Again, I'm a supporter of economic development, entrepreneurs. So I don't see how that places me as an enemy of my own hometown. And to be singled out, and the only woman up here, and I think those that spoke in my favor as a woman, being called out by several people in the audience, blaming a contract on a personal agenda that I don't have. It wasn't there. It's still not there. So to put that in writing and to call me out on it, again, someone mentioned social media. I mean, that's the way people communicate nowadays. You want transparency on the dais, and you've already heard that there are things that we can and cannot say up here. So we have to be very careful how we choose our words. This letter was not careful in how they chose their words. Blaming me for withholding something from the city where I place safety as a #1 concern, but I also have an obligation to protect the city down the road. So, again, solutions brought up, there have been some, but again, we need to try harder. We need to focus, like the gentleman said up there, we need to focus at what is our #1 priority, and that is public safety. Again, we need to put that, we're not in charge of hiring and firing, and we need to actually put that pressure on to do something. We have other options. Paul brought some up, we need to reach out to our previous, retired, even change a few things that we need to in order to get some staffing in order and get our city back to its stability. We've undergone instability over the years. We have had change of chiefs before I was on council. We went from Eldridge, Soria, but the list goes on. We had Craig, Chavez, Dunford. We had a few interims in there in between. Again, this is not unheard of. So again, we have obligation to our city to protect it. There have been solutions. We need to put the pressure on getting those solutions fixed. Someone needs to make up their mind on how we're going to move that forward. Again, if it means bringing back, whether they were favorable or unfavorable, we're looking at protecting our city. That is our priority. That is my priority.
Any other? Council. Go ahead.
So, based on comments and conversations up here on the dais, I think, like, for once, we're all in agreement. I think everybody believes in public safety, which is good. That is why we're still here. So one of the things is, it is time to show by action what that means. Do we believe in public safety in which way? Earlier I had a comment I already forgot, but I think it's a great opportunity to not only, so let's go back to different scenarios. And the reality is that normally I also do my own research, and I also did some inquiring with a few agencies, a few people that I know within Merced County and outside of Merced County, in 2 other different counties. And I inquire about, I'm just curious. If you had the opportunity to come and were offered a position as a chief of police, would you take that, or would you consider it? 80% of the people said, yes, of course, I would consider it, because there's always good opportunities out there. And later, they asked, well, where? Well, city of Livingston. A few of them almost fell back. A few of them were just kind of trying to process. But at the end of the day, all of them were like, no, I'd rather stay where I'm at right now. 2 of them said in different ways, I don't even want to risk my retirement. So the reality, and let's be honest, very few people at this point, as of today, would want to come here. I'm not saying that they would not want to come here because they don't like our city or they don't like our people, but simply because of the instability. Call it whatever you want to call it, but it's called instability for different reasons. So we got to work with what's in front of us. If you can show me and tell me that you reached out and you know of someone that is willing to come right now, then that will possibly be an option. And when I said that when I asked for options, it was not because I didn't consider different alternatives, different possibilities. I tried to analyze different scenarios. Which one would be worse for our situation? Which one would be worse or best for our city? We're here right now. I was the one that voted against their contract. I was the only one. But actions have demonstrated that whether or not it's something that we can work with, yes, let's be honest again, we have the elections coming up, and people are thinking about that. People that are to be considered whether or not they want to come and work here. It's like, do I really want to go somewhere where in a few months there's going to be an election? What's going to happen to that council? Are they going to fire me too? Nobody wants to risk that. I think that what they're doing is they're waiting to see what happens after November 5th or 6th or 7th, whatever that is. November 2nd? November 8th, I think it is. But anyways, that's reality. Whatever we do right now, it is going to be representative of what we mean by public safety. So I just hope that this council makes the right decision for the best interest of that community. Thank you.
Once again, I think I understand the need for, or the want for our own police chief, our own, either within or recruited. But ultimately, we're not there yet. I mean, there has to be a process in place, and I think this is something that we could live with, something that we could work with to get there, to get to that point. It's going to take time. Maria, I understand that, you believe strongly that we should have somebody within or do, additional steps to recruit somebody, and you believe there's, viable solutions besides the sheriff's department. However, we have made some attempts to do that, and there are reasons, obviously, that we haven't been successful. At this time, with the sheriff's department, it provides that additional time. It provides that leadership we need right now, not later on, not in 2-3 months. We need that leadership and that stability now. It's not about what we want or anything like else. It's just what the community needs. It's what's right. It's what the department needs at this time. It's beyond what we want. And this is one of the biggest decisions we're going to be making. And at this point, I believe that's the right decision. Like I said, I'm not necessarily happy that it's a different agency. However, they have proven themselves to be, great partners and provided support and service to our community with respect. And, everything we've asked them for, they've been there. So, I mean, it's just beyond. It's almost like common sense. This is the only option we have at this point, whether we like it or not. I mean, it provides instant stability, instant support, and it comes up, and so we could have that time to really do our research or train somebody within. So it's not gonna happen overnight. We need that stability now. So I'm asking you as the mayor, as a member of the community for many, many years, involved in the city for many, many years, let's do the right thing now. Give them the opportunity to really groom somebody within, train somebody, get them ready. I mean, they've stated many times that they're not here to take over. They want to provide additional support. They want to help us out. And I think they've proven that. I think that's just the right thing to do. That's the option we have right now, and let's take it. It's a 1-year contract. We were able to, cancel that contract if we find somebody, or if they feel that, somebody within is ready to go. What's going to be important is that we have good follow-up, good communication with the city manager and making sure there's a good plan in place, there's time frames, and there's a good succession plan. But at this moment, at this time, that's the right thing to do. There's no other option.
Mayor, if I may make a comment. It was brought up that it would be great to have a plan in place to provide training, to groom that police chief, and I believe that the contract you have in front of you, it is exactly that. It accomplishes continuing the leadership that we have today and allowing the city to bring the lieutenant position back and to be able to start that training and to start that grooming and to have a clear second in command. To the comments of, trying to find other options, that's exactly what I have been doing. I've been asking retirees. They retired and they're enjoying their happy days of no worries. They do not want to, they have declined. They point me back to the sheriff's office. I've contacted other law enforcement agencies, and they are just as short in staff as we are, or many other agencies around the region. They point me back. Have you contacted your sheriff's department? Same thing with executive placement. So at this moment, when we are talking about this long-term planning and this succession plan and something for us to have, to plan long-term, to have stability, to have, to be resilient in the future, this is the plan that we're bringing forward, and we brought it forward since April.
Thank you. And I have a quick question about the contract. And I know it says captain, right? But I know there's also an option regarding the lieutenant, right?
We have proposed two alternatives. One is the lieutenant position. I believe there is a differential pay, and what we are recommending in the staff report is to go with a captain position, so that way it could provide training to that new lieutenant that we will be requesting in our as part of our budget that it's coming up in mid-August.
What is the difference between the lieutenant option and captain option?
Well, based on the staff report that we provided, there was we had about a $10 difference. I believe when we talked about this in April, there was a $40,000 difference between, and that's annually, and also that is expecting it or estimating it, doing this projection at the highest step of the salary, the salary schedule. At this moment, like Under Sheriff Gibson shared, there was a salary adjustment, so those new figures will be provided, and we will be able to update that table. However, we do have the stipulation of not to exceed contract, so we won't go over the budgeted amount.
Thank you.
City Manager, I might suggest we just have just because we're not going to be able to approve the contract that's currently in the agreement, and so it would be good to have the Sheriff's Department just come up and quickly outline if there's any other changes other than, because I don't want to have to bring this back again. So, for instance, if we're selecting a lieutenant versus a captain and how those different options work from the function of being able to actually have a contract to consider and know what we're exactly approving or authorizing tonight.
I do my best to address the concerns. So the lieutenant option included a 10% pay incentive for the chief. Essentially, when the lieutenant was assigned here, we didn't take in consideration that he would be missing some on-call pay and some other incentive pays when he's assigned to the city of Livingston that he would generally get at the sheriff's office. And we were trying to make it competitive in a way to get all lieutenants to be interested in coming to Livingston. I think I've shared with the council before, I had to assign Chuck to Livingston. There was no one that volunteered to come out of my 5 lieutenants. So we were looking at ways to incentivize someone to come to Livingston. The captain option was also given. The pay is very similar between the 10% and the captain. There's not a whole lot of difference as I recall. We'd have to look at all the different pay incentives, but I don't recall anything else being different in the contract other than it was a lieutenant with a pay incentive or a captain. We've never drawn up a draft contract on the lieutenant option because that has never been given the direction to the sheriff's office.
I got a question for you, Under Sheriff. So let's say if we go with the lieutenant option, who would that be? Would that be Chuck Hill?
We would probably draft it out to the lieutenants, and we have a conversation with the city manager about who would be the best selection for the lieutenant. It's quite possible it could be Chuck, and we continue to be Chuck. I know that Chuck has been frustrated with the current atmosphere in the city of Livingston. I've had this conversation with a couple of you, and I've told Chuck to be more of a babysitter, which was requested by many of you. And so I've asked him to stop some progressive changes and wait for some of these projects to be implemented. So it could be Chuck. And if we go with the captain option, we would do a promotional panel with the sheriff, and the sheriff would make a selection, and then we would assign someone to the city of Livingston.
What I'm understanding, if we go to the captain route, we're still going to get a lieutenant that just suddenly got promoted. Or are we going to get a captain that's been there for 2 years plus experience?
So there's a couple different options, and me and the sheriff have had some conversations. There's nothing definitive about who it would be. Those things are still be up in the air. We haven't had really concrete conversations. As of last week when I was at work, I've been off a week. my intention was to vacate. So we really haven't had any further discussions, just a couple quick conversations with Vanessa about her still desiring to have a captain here at the city.
So, Sheriff, if you could just clarify again, so we know what the default would be if they were to do it. Would the default be the captain position and then they could select to go up to the lieutenant position? Or would the default be the lieutenant position and it could go up to the captain?
Well, I think right now it's the captain is being proposed, and then the alternative is a lieutenant.
Okay.
Then the city would not appoint a lieutenant within its own ranks.
Yeah. So just so you all are clear on what you'd be asked to vote on and what the default is and what the option would be if you want to do something.
Yeah, option one, as I understand it, is the captain, and then to unfreeze the lieutenant position within the city. And the second option is to just do a lieutenant with a 10% pay incentive from the sheriff's office.
And then not promote nobody within to a lieutenant?
That's my
So
understanding.
then how are we gonna train somebody?
I think those are decisions you have to make as the
So
council.
it comes back, we're gonna be here another year later, we're gonna be in the same boat again.
Like I said, these are difficult decisions you have to make.
Council, additional questions, comments, questions?
Yeah, like I said, this job falls on the city manager. She had 1 year to see if we have somebody who's ready from the department or reach out. Because right now, if you go on the city website, it says, if it says, if you apply for the position, you gotta contact Chief L. And then Chief L's gonna let the city manager know, yeah, you have 1 applicant, 2 applicants. I mean, who would wanna hire their own replacement? I don't think we're never gonna get a chief that way. It's not just that position. If you look at Public Works Director, wastewater manager, wastewater 2, we're understaffed, and it's been over a year, we haven't hired nobody. So end of the day, it's not the sheriff's department's fault, it's our management that doesn't want to hire nobody and just wants to go to the consultants because they have more control. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Any other questions, council? Comments?
So, legal, can you state the options just to make it formal?
Okay. So, first choice is captain, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my captain lieutenant choices straight. So I think that would be requesting authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Merced County Sheriff's Department that's substantially similar to the one that's been included in the packet. If you want to go with selection 1, then you would specify captain, and if you want to go with option 2, you're going to specify lieutenant. And I think we can leave it at, I think we would be leaving it at that. At that point in time, it would just need to be signed off by the city manager, so long as it's, the city attorney deems the form substantially similar. So, and if it's,
So when a motion is made, we have to specify it with option 1 or 2? Or
I think it's preferable because I don't want ambiguity that would require the contract to come back and do this all over again.
Is that clear enough? Basically, it's a captain versus a lieutenant. Option 1 is a captain, option 2 is lieutenant.
Option 1 is a captain that will take the opportunity to train
And that
from within.
Unfreeze a lieutenant position to promote within, yeah.
And then, does that mean, okay, so then, I just want to make sure. So if that option is taken, then we have to unfreeze the lieutenant position, which means
Promote somebody.
we're assuming that we have the budget.
Yeah, I think that's been worked up already.
That's a position that we will be bringing forward in the budget discussions as well.
Okay, so, but we still have the option to consider someone from outside as to consider all candidates.
Our recruitments are open, will be open recruitments. All of our recruitments are open recruitments.
So I think, if I could, I think the operable provision is the one that the Sheriff's Department pointed out earlier, which is why I asked the city manager to clarify it, which is that there would be a 90-day provision to be able to terminate the contract if you found somebody. So I think that that's probably, if you find somebody, that's what you do. You would exercise that.
Correct.
Okay, I move to approve option 1 as stated in the staff report.
Would it be within the contract in a form substantially similar to that with the things we've discussed tonight with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes, that is correct.
And to clarify, there's the captain option, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Jose Moran. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and second that motion. Monica? Could you do an actual roll call, Monica? Yeah, could you do a verbal?
Councilmember Soto?
No.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? Oh, sorry. Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion fell by a vote of 2-2.
Can I suggest a 5-minute break so that we can get the vice chair kind of reset for the...
Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to get our Mayor Pro Tem back in here for the second section of 19. Where you guys going?
Yeah, they're cool. He said he agrees with me. So I mean, so he was good. He was fine.
Okay, welcome everybody back to a council meeting. We're gonna go ahead and discuss 19B or 19.2 regarding declaring a state of local emergency due to understaffed police department.
Yep. Before the city manager does her presentation or explanation, I just wanted to kind of, because we took a little bit longer than 5 minutes, and I know people saw me going back and forth, so I can't say everything because I'm an attorney and there's attorney-client privilege, but I want you to know what the conversation was, which is we want to make sure that we have as much participation as we can from elected council members. As we know, there's been, in an abundance of caution, anything having to do with the sheriff's department, the mayor pro tem hasn't been participating in those votes to make sure that there's not a conflict of interest since that's his employer. And so the conversation was about taking out some language that's potentially in the resolution so it could be considered and he could participate. So it's just figuring out whether or not he could participate in this. And so long as we kind of specify that from the beginning, and as long as it doesn't involve that, then there's no reason that the mayor pro tem can't participate in this conversation. So that's the explanation, so everybody knows what's going on.
Thank you, Don. Vanessa?
Yes, Mayor, City Council members, like I was sharing, absent a sheriff's contract or an extension of that sheriff's contract, we are facing a department that it will soon be inoperable due to understaffed concerns and issues that will have to be addressed. So just to put it in perspective, we have two officers that are no longer with us. We have potentially three other officers moving on, and also we are given notice. And I believe that the number might be higher since this information it has changed since last Thursday when I wrote the staff report. So Interim Chief of Police Hale may have updated information, but at the time when I wrote this report, we also had another set of administrative personnel that were also moving on from the agency. So to put it into perspective, I do need I would end up with about 8 officers per shift, where in order for the city to provide proper adequate coverage for our citizens to patrol the streets, we would need about 10 officers on 12-hour shifts, about 12 officers on 10-hour shifts. That will not be possible once we have the officers currently that have shared or expressed their intent to leave the department. This number of officers are at a minimum, and we know that 12-hour shifts are very long shifts. It will soon create just burnout on the officers. Those are not really where we want to be on 12-hour shifts. And it will actually also just place a very difficult constraint to our department to manage sick leaves, vacation trainings or anything like that, any kind of leave. Absent the administrative personnel, what is at stake is that we will not have adequate coverage, or we will not be able to provide the services of administrative management. We wouldn't have evidence room management, investigative services, animal control, and so forth. Also, along with that, if we don't have dispatching services, our Gacine dispatch contract or mutual agreement to provide those services, we will not be able to fulfill that. So we will be losing out about $150,000 in revenue a year. Also absent the Livingston Union District or the high school district contract with them. That's another $100,000 that the city will not be receiving. We were looking at a budget surplus of about $200,000, and that's pretty much depleted at the moment. So at that point, with the city being in, or the police department being unable to operate or fill the shifts, what I'm considering that we should declare this a local emergency. So the disaster ordinance, Title I, Chapter 20 or Section 20 could be activated, and at that point we are able to, city manager is able to take action on moving forward and filling these positions as needed.
Say something, Mayor?
Council?
Yes. Speaking to a few of the officers, the two that have left, they've been already replaced with 2 new officers. So you don't have to worry about that. The other positions, this is coming from the employees themselves.
Where are you talking to?
They're talking to me. They're calling me because they're worried.
You continue to talk to them.
They're calling me.
I highly doubt it.
How do I know? So you know. And then with everything else, the other employees, they got job offers. Most of them denied it. So we can't go into a state of emergency off your guys' word. If it happened, then we could worry about it. But right now, it's a bluff.
And
Okay. So without getting into some of the other language, let me make
I have a list of every name that works for us.
No, but you can't,
All right, hold
can't
on.
go over that.
Yeah, don't go over names.
So I want to make some legal clarifications. So from a legal perspective, I do not believe the conditions exist today that would allow us to adopt or proclaim a local emergency, because it cannot be done on the basis of people on speculation of people leaving. It has to have actually happened, which would necessitate us actually receiving notices of intent to depart the city. So people who've tendered their actual resignations in order to be able to legally meet that. And I've talked to the sheriff's department and about that. That being said, if what is in the letter comes to fruition, 100% there is the justification for adoption of and proclamation of a local emergency. So my only issue is at this point in time, those people listed that have been discussed in the letter or referenced in the letter haven't actually tendered their letter of resignation. Then we don't really have, we know it might be coming, but the condition of it, it's like a fire that might happen. You have to wait till the fire in California under the law to proclaim the emergency. That being said, again, if those things happen, then there's just absolutely to do it. If that happens under, as the city manager directed, would activate the disaster council, would first be required, the disaster council and the city manager would then, under section 129A1, would be required to gather the city council to proclaim the local emergency. If the city council can't be convened in a timely manner, under A2, it goes to the mayor. And if the city council or the mayor can't be proclaimed, then the city manager, acting in the capacity as what's the name of the, Director of Disaster Council would be able to proclaim the emergency. In all those, in all situations except for where the city council takes action, under the mayor proclaiming the emergency, or the city manager doing it in her disaster council capacity, it has to be ratified. The actions that are taken have to be ratified by the city council within 7 days. And if they're not ratified, then they become null and void. So that is in your own municipal code. It's also referenced in state statute. So I just want to set the framework of what the law actually requires, says, and specifies. But I want to be very clear that if in the event that what's laid out in the letter actually happens, the condition for a local emergency absolutely exists. So.
Thank you, Doug, for the explanation. Council, any other questions, comments? Take it out for public comment at this time. Any public comment?
What are you doing? Like, seriously, man. What's your plan? Because you seem to be opposed to any forward progress in this. And I'm going to tell you right now, your body language, your voice, everything about you says that you have a personal interest in this. It does. I'm just saying, no, listen to, don't interrupt me. No, I'm going to tell you what. No, I know you're not. You don't listen. And I'm going to tell you another thing, which I was reminded of before. My wife spoke last time at a meeting I wasn't present at, and you were rude to her. And I don't appreciate that. I just think you're a rude person, and I find it very easy to dislike you because you don't put the best interest of anyone but yourself here. And it's plain. It was none of us who said it. My point was, the Merced County Sheriff's Department said, you have someone in here that has got personal interests, and that's not right. So what are you going to do? You seem to have all the answers, so tell us, what's your plan? Are you just going to yell? Because that's working. It's working at pissing off the people who are here to try to help. You don't have a plan, man. Your plan is just to support what? Support nothing. And I don't know your past. I don't even care, dude. But I'm telling you right now, your past means nothing. Because if you want to dig in mine, you'll find stuff too. What are you looking for them for? They're not going to help you. You're about the most rude person I've ever... It's not your turn to talk. All you've done is talk. What's the point? You said you don't care. You said it. It's on record. You said you don't care.
Mr. Mayor.
This is a circle talk. Man, this is my point right now, where you should step in and have some leadership and say, hey, you should control him. If I'm out of order, tell me and I'll bounce, because I have way better stuff to do than hang out and talk to you. You're ridiculous. You do not belong up there. You have no business, no leadership. And I have 26 more seconds. You want me to go on? I'm not trying to put you down, man, but you're putting down our community. It's about helping our community. Ten, 9. Want me to recount it to you? You're a joke.
I know you guys are not going to answer me, but Maria, what is your plan now? May I please get an answer? May I please get an answer? What is your plan? You guys voted not to extend, so what is your plan? Do you have an answer, please?
we'll sit and we'll discuss that amongst the council
You
and
guys
with
been
the city
discussing this for
manager.
how many
But yes,
months?
there was a succession plan in place, and I'd like to revisit all of that and invite our past, even if we have to offer them more money, someone will come back.
Okay. Please, I'm on my time. Mayor Pro Tem, and correct me, I don't want to put you in a situation, a conflict, but do you have a plan? I understand where your position is, but do you have any plan? House is about to be on fire. You guys gonna wait till halfway it burns down before you call the fire department? What is your plan, please?
Well, my plan, obviously, like you said, I'm not gonna talk about the contract, any of that, but
No, I'm not asking for I understand. Thank you.
my plan is to try to keep Livingston safe. That's my plan. My family, your family, because if we don't have a person in a leadership role, guess what's going to happen? Crime's going to go up, and then once we put that person, that new chief, in that position, guess what? He has to tackle that, and it's not just an overnight thing. It's a year, 2 years. Now, guess what? Now they have to reach out back to the sheriff's department or the highway patrol. So our plan needs to be dealt with. Here soon, to place somebody in that position. Even like I said, I won't go there. But we just need to have somebody in that position.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I know that when somebody's answering, the clock's supposed to stop, so I'm just going to ask quick questions to each and every one of you, okay? So I'll go to you last. I know I should have gone to you second to last, but thank you for answering. Mr. Moran, are you going to wait till the house burns down, or are you guys going to call the fire department now?
Well, it's all about being preventive. When I'm trying to prevent the house from burning down, I make sure that I get rid of all the dead grass around my property. Otherwise, it's for sure the risk is higher. So being preventive, why change something that is working? So just extend the contract, allow us to do our work, and eventually, have a full-time chief in place.
Thank you.
Be preventive.
Gag? Well, I'm being fair to you. I'm not saying negative to anybody, okay? I'm being fair to you as well, just like everybody else. I'm not accusing anybody of anything.
Well, so
I just want to know your plan, please.
When the contract expired 3 months ago, that's one of the reasons why I renewed it, gave the city manager a chance. Hey, step up the ball, start hiring people, start recruiting within or without, outside the agencies. But the hiring a chief was in our position at the time. It's a city manager's, just like every other vacancy's position.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. The city manager has to work with council or make a decision. It's been 1 year. Every department head we have is a consultant, except finance just a few months ago. Other than that, it's not up to council to hire.
No, I
So
understand.
I'm hoping she goes out there and works harder and starts recruiting somebody instead of wasting 1 whole year and not doing anything.
I understand, and I know the duties of the council. I think I've done it for here and there a little bit. I understand. But also, Gag, it's important that your staff know that they have the support of the council. I don't know the inner workings. I really, really don't. I'm on the outside. But I don't know how often you guys sit down with your city manager and say, where are we at? We need to do this. I don't know if it's happening. I don't know if it is. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody. But seriously, I know you lived here a long time, as each and every one of them. Please, do something. Put the feelings aside. I'm not saying you have anything, but please do something, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a dire strait. Mr. Moran says, well, if there's a fire, I'm going to put down, take out grass around my house. Well, if the crime goes up, the only grass I can really use to mow down the grass, it would be a sidearm or some arming myself. I don't think that's what Livingston's for. Livingston's been good. Previous councils, we all have supported public safety. So please reconsider. If not, You guys had maybe offer a temporary position to Mr. Markle if he wanted to come down. And I'm not telling you guys what to do. That's not my job. I'm just a dumb guy out there just saying and worried about my family, your family, everybody's family. So please, guys, try to do something. I know you better than that. Whatever it is, just put those feelings aside, okay, gang? Please. Mr. Mayor, what is your plan?
So our plan was hopefully to renew the contract or extend the contract and build somebody within, or hire somebody appropriate. Obviously, there's conversations we needs to have with Vanessa, and ultimately she has the responsibility to hire somebody or promote somebody within. That's ultimately something that we'll be discussing with Vanessa and the interim police chief.
Yeah.
But it is concern. Obviously, it's concerning, and we have to come up with a plan, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank you, council. I really appreciate the response. Just further, I noticed, and I know you guys have too, I noticed a stress level in some upper management. So please do what you guys can to bring that stress levels down. Work with them. They work for you as a council, city manager, Please work with them. That way, ultimately, we can go home and just enjoy our weekends and our evenings and not have to worry about this, okay? And thank you guys for the response. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Any other public comment?
So I know that you're blaming the city manager for everything or for not doing anything for a whole year, but I don't really think it's her fault. I mean, first of all, who hired her? Can you guys answer the question? Who hired her? Who's we? Okay? So you're responsible for her. It's your fault, not hers. But also, I don't think that the problem is her. I think that the problem is the atmosphere that is here. Who would want to come work here with this type of environment? For example, even the sheriff's department, like this chief, you guys are the acting chief right now. You guys are actually making him think about even coming here, and what are we going to do if the sheriff's department can't find someone to come take care of Livingston? Obviously what's going to happen is the sheriff's department is going to take over the police department because the city cannot find enough officers to cover. But I don't think you should be blaming the city manager, seriously. And I'm being respectful. I'm saying it in a way that I think is right. I don't think it's her fault. I think it's the atmosphere, really. 1,900 applicants and nobody wants to come, or maybe they didn't qualify or whatever. So that's that one thing. The other thing is you keep saying that it's not true what they're saying. Like what they said, that there's council people that want to take up their own agenda, but they're not the only ones saying that. The people that are currently pending lawsuits are saying the same thing. So it's hard to not believe what they're saying when everybody's saying it, not just one person or one entity. So those are the things that the public is looking at. Is not one thing, and it's hard. I know that being up there is probably hard when people are directing things specifically at you. So I don't know. It's just the way you talk to the sheriff. I think it should have been more respectful. I didn't see him not being respectful, or I didn't hear him. But anyways, the suggestions would be, and I think other people have brought it up, is just suck it up and get Marco back. Why was he let go in the first place? Why did Chief Chavez leave early in the first place? Why did the city manager get fired in the first place? Jose Antonio Ramirez. Why did all the other people, whoever other people you guys fired, and you're gonna blame it on her, but it wasn't her. It was your direction. You're directing her. The council is her boss, so you guys are directing her. So Anyways, I just wanted to say that my time's up, but I hope we don't get to that.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, hi, I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, this is Dwight. I had to take off because I got to water my plant. But anyway, I want to say that, I got family in law enforcement all over the place, and I'd really like to see the Sheriff's Department apologize for that letter. The Councilmember Kang clearly showed everyone that he's not in control of who's being hired. And that letter, I mean, I didn't know who it was addressed to, but that letter stated that, or the people there stated that it was about him. And then also, the letter was against our only female councilwoman directly. So it's like a, political attack from the Sheriff's Department on two of our council members. And so I just, having family in law enforcement, I'd really like to see the Sheriff's Office apologize to both of them, Councilmember Kang and then Councilmember Maria. And I'd also like to ask the mayor and Councilmember Moran, these are your fellow council members. You should be supporting them, and you should be backing them up when things like this happen. They obviously have a concern as well. And so I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen at this point, but clearly the council has spoken. The City Council of Livingston has spoken. Decisions have to be made all the time, and I'm hoping that we can, hire somebody from within, someone that knows the community, and someone that that can speak respectfully to the fellow council members. I saw Lieutenant Chuck Hell yelling at Councilmember Kang tonight, and no one seems to be talking about that. Too wrapped up in politics, but the videotape shows, him yelling at the council member. I'd really like to see an apology to these council members that are doing all they can. Thank you.
Regardless of the last vote, I just want everyone on the council to know that the Sheriff's Office is committed to the city of Livingston and the community of Livingston. There's been a lot of discussion around hiring and what the plan would be if the Sheriff's Office is not here providing executive leadership. So I think it's important to note the last 3 police officers that were hired in the city of Livingston were hired under our leadership. We ran a recruitment for nearly a month without any active recruiting in the community, and we got 0 applicants. And it was only after we reached out to several of our connections through the college and some of our other lieutenants and captains, we were able to identify several candidates locally that were willing to apply. And that's how we got them to come here. I really fear that the instability will inevitably run them off to another law enforcement agency. As it comes to a plan, I think there's only one real plan, and I think everyone in law enforcement knows what the plan has to be, and I think the council, and I just want everyone to be clear, the only real plan is to appoint one of the 2 senior sergeants to an acting police chief position. And then the city will see what happens with the police department. Hopefully it goes well, there's no issues, but whoever the city selects as an interim police chief, the Sheriff's Office will support 100%. We'll ensure through our best of our abilities that we can support them. Currently, we're the chair of the Merced County Chiefs Association. We'll welcome them graciously into the brotherhood, and we'll support them in how we can. So if there's any questions about anything to do with that type of requirements, I'm here to answer those questions.
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Anybody on the phone?
Yes. Jason Robb.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say Julio nailed it on the head. We had great leadership. Personally, I'd like to know why they were terminated. Could you please explain your decision? Of all the people we had here, I mean, Marco did make a difference. You guys got to really think about it. Explain to the community. I mean, the community needs to have an explanation of why these choices were made and why these terminations were made. And thank you, council. That's all I have.
Doug. Oh.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to the Merced County Sheriff's Office for all the support they have provided us. It's a very unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in tonight, and it's great that the only stability that we've had in our community over the last year has been the Sheriff's Department. I hope that the council tonight really thinks about the things that they're saying about our Sheriff's Department. It's easy to sit up there and play the victim and, oh, we need to drop this narrative about my brother and I'm a woman and this and that, but you guys are attacking these people who have been nothing but wonderful to our community. You guys continue to place blame on Vanessa and say that, hiring is her responsibility, but yet you guys don't give her the votes to support her recommendations. You guys need to take accountability for your votes and stop pointing fingers at everybody else. Thank you.
Anybody else on the phone? All right, we'll bring it back to council at this time. Doug?
Yeah, so at least for council, just because it's come up all night and it's come up a couple other times, I want to, just for the public's edification, I want to reiterate that the city council only has jurisdiction and control over the city manager position and the city attorney position. In addition to that, so when we're talking about the police chief, we don't control they don't control who gets hired or doesn't get hired, except for in these situations where we're talking about contract awards. As it relates to why haven't we told the public, because I want to be completely transparent about why folks aren't here anymore or something like that. California employment laws is very protective of employee information. It's really, really protective when it comes to public employees. And so we're not at liberty to be able to go into extensive details about why somebody is here or they're not here. It's not because many of these folks don't want to. It's just they simply would create huge thousands of thousands of dollars of liability if they were to discuss those things, and those employees would have the ability to sue the city. So that's why it's not discussed and why some of this information hasn't come out.
Thank you, Doug. So at this time, any other questions, council comments? As far as myself, in regards to proclaiming a local emergency, I think obviously the situation is very concerning. I think if those people, as stated in the letter, are to leave the police department, if we go down to that threshold or that number, then absolutely it's appropriate to call for a local emergency. I don't think legally at this point it would be appropriate. I know we talked about this, but I don't think we're at that point. But of course, if that occurs in the near future, then that would be appropriate. I don't know what the council will. Doug, you want to?
Yeah, I just want to re-clarify because I think I forgot to do this. This discussion is all prefaced on the fact that the discussion about proclaiming the emergency doesn't include a conversation about automatic mutual aid, so that to award the contract or have the sheriffs take over. So that's why the mayor pro tem is participating. So I just want to reiterate for everybody again, completely transparent. That's not part of what we're talking about, so he can participate.
Well,
it's mayor's discretion.
What's your question?
Can you do it at the mic though, so the people who are on the phone can hear?
If the sheriff's department takes over in the state of emergency, is it going to cost the city more than just extending the contract?
That's not a legal question. You'd have to ask the sheriff's department that.
But
I think I know the answer, but I don't think I'm the appropriate person to do it. So.
Do you want to?
So just a little discussion on mutual aid and how that works. So the sheriff's office is the primary law enforcement agency in the county. Anytime a police department needs a mutual aid, the first thing they do is they reach out to the sheriff. And the sheriff determines if we have the available resources to provide to that entity. And if we don't, then we reach out regionally. And if there's nothing locally in Merced County, we would reach out to Fresno County for additional resources. When it comes to what would be needed and what the cost would be for the city of Livingston, it would be the actual cost, whatever that cost is. What I'm very fearful of moving forward is that if we lose all these staff members in the police department, you're really going to be looking at a contracted police services agency, not just a executive. And that's really my fear. You could be in the next year or less, we could be potentially providing 12 hours of the law enforcement services within the city, while the police department's providing the other 12, and just to make sure that we have enough staffing to respond to calls for service, those types of things. Yeah, you'll pay per cost, and I believe our FTE cost for a deputy sheriff is substantially more than a cost for a police officer in the city of Livingston.
Council, back to council.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's right now, the scenario that we have, or that we've been having, is we have someone from a particular agency providing that service, potentially causing instability and creating that exodus of people from Livingston, everywhere else. Eventually, whoever that other agency has to come to the rescue will not more than likely will not only have to provide the one leader in that office, but in addition, they would have to support us with additional officers. Anybody else coming outside of Livingston, will be more expensive. I mean, I would consider that common sense, especially if they're coming from Fresno or Stanislaus County. I mean, even just the driving distance, somebody's got to pay for that. They're not going to pay for it. We have to pay for it, for them to get here. So it doesn't matter who that other agency is going to be. Automatically, you better bet that it's going to cost us more money than it is costing us right now. And yes, pay, it is probably the main thing of why most agencies in law enforcement lose their officers to other agencies, because they, better opportunities. And it's just, and it's unfortunate that we don't get to see the emergency that we're in. It's like, you're seeing the other day when I was coming from Gastine to Livingston, I could see over the hills, I could see the light up in the sky, at night. And it's like saying, well, it's never going to get here. We're okay. That fire is never going to reach Livingston. But right now, I feel like we are in that position of a city nearby that fire. If I was a homeowner, if I was someone in that location near that fire, and I'm still like, well, it's never going to get here, I'm doomed. I mean, and I think that's what's happening right now. If we still believe that we're not there, I just hope that the residents, if it gets to that point, I hope that the residents really come out and say, you know what? Here's your pie in the face. I mean, because that's what we deserve. Because, we're talking about safety, but we're doing totally the opposite. You know, many times we talk about common sense, but please, if anybody has a truckload of common sense, please let me know. I'll go buy some. It's just incredible. And up to a certain point, I'm just speechless, you know. Preparing for this meeting, I did research, I read, I did, you know, like, try to have an answer for any potential question. But man, every time I say, like, it cannot get any worse, well, and here we are. You know, it's like, prior to this, you know, like, we all been through ups and downs, and we kind of hate each other at times, and, you know, but I'm still here. I'm still trying to get things done. Leave that behind. You know, it's just we gotta get things done for the city. Whether once we're done, if we don't like each other, then, you know, I mean, we don't have to like each other. That's fine. But think about our responsibility. I mean, it seems like I'm just playing the same tape over and over and over again, you know. I understand. I mean, I really, actually, no, I don't understand. You know, it's just the reason behind it. I mean, if you can explain it, I mean, I think it will probably at least try to make some sense, and, like, you know, I can go to sleep better, and so do the people of the city of Livingston. But to say, you know, I think this bolt tire is going to last me 20,000 more miles because you don't want to buy one right now. I mean, you're saying, oh, I just have to go down to San Diego and come back. Well, you're putting yourself at risk and other people as well.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to share that I believe it is not responsible. It is not the responsible thing to do to always be in crisis management. We brought you a plan. We brought you a solution, and now the default of not acting on that solution, it would be to provide an alternative, which is potentially doing this local emergency, so that way we can activate the disaster preparedness ordinance and emergency plan and so forth, and we can try to prevent that mass exit of qualified and the personnel that just keeps the department running. However, I believe that always operating on crisis management, it is wearing. It is, it's just not healthy for our department, for our city staff, and at some point, you're telling us that you want us to see the place burning in order to act. I believe that we need to be preventive, more proactive, and not so reactive.
No, I definitely agree with that. So, council, do we want to proceed with a motion, or do we want to come back to see where,
I would like to hear from the rest of the council.
Council, thoughts?
Well, for me, I've listened to citizens say that Councilmember Kane was very disrespectful to the undersheriff and the chief. That makes this place a lot harder to hire a chief, because do you think a chief wants to come here to get harassed the way he talks to them? No. They'd rather stay in where they're at or move up in a position. Do you think they want to hear from, because the first thing they're going to ask is, how is council with their police department, you know, their upper management? That's the first question they'll probably ask, you know, because they don't want to come here to get harassed by their council member up on the dais. And that's very disrespectful for their positions that they have. So, I mean, it takes a lot in law enforcement to be out there to protect his family, your family, my family. Even though I'm in the same field, they are out there protecting me. And if we don't have those individuals by your house, patrolling, you're gonna blame who? You're gonna blame the chief, but the chief could only work with what he has.
Anything from the rest of the council?
Yes, I want to say something. I don't think I disrespected the chief. I think we could replay the video. He walked off. I was just answering the questions. And then the information that's provided to me from staff was saying that they're being recruited. I just wanted to let the residents know that's what I believe was going on. I don't think we're in a state of emergency. I don't think we're closed, unless the sheriff's department offers everybody a job. But other than that, I think you guys are overthinking this. I don't think, if we have 5, 6 employees turn in their 2-week notice, next week, yes, then we have a state of emergency, then we have to take actions. But on a bluff, guys, I don't think people are gonna give up their jobs that they've been here 20 years, 10 years for this. I'm talking to the council. So that's the reason I think if they're here longer, they're gonna have more time to recruit. That's my opinion. See, and Vice Mayor, you're saying I'm disrespecting him? Please read.
Councilwoman Maria Soto, any comments?
On the topic that was before us, I don't believe that we are here at a local emergency. I do believe that we need to take into account that with everything that could transpire has not yet. So with item number 2, we're not there yet. I don't plan on us getting there either.
Anything else from legal? Any motions, or are we going to continue this item or bring it?
I motion to approve this item.
So I got a question. So in order for me to vote on this item, I see there's a lot of sheriff information on this. So are we doing it as a mutual aid, or what's going on?
The only way that you can participate in the vote is if it would leave undetermined the resolution to it. So you declare the emergency, but there'd be no resolution on how it would be handled. And then the council then would have to, as the basically, can't remember I want to use the direct or the correct term. I think it's disaster council. Yeah. Would have to be convened, and then they, without your participation, would have to figure out anytime they're going to talk about the sheriffs, then you wouldn't be able to be part of that conversation or vote.
So Mr. Moran would have to.
Yeah, I was gonna. You beat me to it, but I was gonna ask him to specify that it doesn't have identify anyone. It would declare the emergency without specifying the solution. Because if he doesn't, then you have to leave. He can't. He legally has to do it, or it's not good. He has to leave the room. That's why he was out earlier.
I amend my motion as stated by legal.
We have a motion by Councilmember Zamoran.
I'll second.
Sorry, I have a question. Can I ask a question real quick?
There's a motion already on the table.
Just go ahead.
So I'm saying we're trying to declare a state of emergency while we're fully staffed. Am I wrong? I don't see what's, I mean, if people have turned in the 2-week notice, they're quit, then I understand bring this back next week, but as of right now, we are fully staffed. For us to declare a state of emergency, I mean,
So,
I mean, I would like the council-
I stated my legal opinion that until you've at least received notices
yeah.
of intent to
We should be able, I think we should wait until you guys start reacting to,
that the
like you have
threshold.
one little cloud and you're saying, hey, oh my God, everything's gonna flood.
But-
Come on, guys, just.
Undersheriff?
But ultimately, the decision on it with everything is the council can choose to follow the advice or not follow the advice, and we live with your decisions, whether they're good or they're bad.
Mayor, permission to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
The council. So as I understand it, they can declare a state of emergency, whatever, if that passes, the city manager potentially could.
So under the code in both state and local, as soon as they declare a state of emergency, assuming that happens, you have to convene the city council, and they have to come up with a solution. In the event that the city council can't be convened in a timely manner, it's because they're the policymakers, then it can be the mayor, and if the mayor's not available, then it goes to the director of the disaster council, which is the city manager. But in the cases of when it's the decision is made by the mayor or the city manager, it has to be ratified by the city council to be effective within 7 days. And if that ratification fails, then those actions are null and void.
Yeah, and that's my concern, and I just want to make sure it clear is, it has to be ratified by the council. So we're back at whatever action's taken to the sheriff's office recommendation, as it has been before, is that you look internally to appoint a chief, and then determine what action needs to be taken in the coming weeks and months.
But at this moment, that's Vanessa would be able to do that, emergency declaration or not, correct?
When you guys are considering the emergency declaration tonight, you got to determine whether or not, in light of your current staffing, when I say current staffing, I'm saying the people who have currently are on the books that haven't tendered a letter of resignation, whether or not you meet that criteria. I think it's inappropriate for me to go further than that without having the discussion and implications being a closed session discussion, but with council. But at the end of the day, that's your determination, and we live with the consequences of it one way or the other.
So there's a motion
Positive or
on
negative.
So your legal advice is we gotta wait until people turn in the 2-week notice and then come back to this decision, instead of reacting to, making a decision right now.
My legal analysis is that you cannot make the findings necessary to declare a current state of local emergency because you don't have sufficient amount of people who have given you notice of their resignation of the position. So, but I've been very clear that if everything that has been said in that letter comes to fruition, then absolutely that the state of emergency, but to the sheriff's point, we're still ultimately in to the extent that they're part of the discussion, the mayor pro tem would likely not be able to participate in the final decision. And again, it's in state statute. In addition to our municipal code, it's not something I can just go and you can waive.
Okay, we have a motion on the table and a second.
So we could revisit this back here soon, if
it comes to
we fall
fruition.
underneath those
Yeah.
numbers, and maybe we can get all those numbers on the exact numbers, I should say, on where we're at, right? And then come back at that. Is that legal?
We can come back at any time, and you can consider this. It's just a question of whether or not you feel like you can make the necessary findings to support the declaration. Because if you don't, then that's a problem.
Okay.
I recommend council to just wait and see if we have
There's a motion.
people actually turning in their.
So, when,
There's a motion on the table. So
Okay.
just
so then,
Point of clarification. Is that what you?
yeah, I'll just remove my motion, or go back my motion.
your second? Okay. So
And
there's
then just have, Vanessa bring numbers back to be on the table for
yeah.
to vote on it. I mean, if we have to come back on a special meeting.
I'm in agreement with that as well.
Thank you.
There's only a motion, but no second, so
So-
motion dies.
A question of clarification. So if this motion fails, what are the alternatives as far as coming back, whether on a special meeting or regular meeting?
Yeah, we probably have to call a special meeting. Or whenever
Yeah,
that,
but-
Well, I mean,
or not.
But my question is, what are the options to bring for this to come back? Under what description or?
So if it reads,
I think it would be, my analysis is if what has been said in the true, if you get notices if you get notices of intent to leave the department from the amount of people that have been listed in there without anybody being replaced, then in my opinion, at that point in time, you can make the legal findings without question to declare effectively a state of emergency.
Or could we motion, if that was an option, motion to continue this item?
It's effectively the same. You could, or you can direct the city manager if it reaches those staffing levels to do it. That being said, I mean, I feel pretty, I don't want to speak for Vanessa, but I feel fairly confident. I mean, if we actually got letters of resignation from that many people, that I don't think she'd have any problem getting the mayor to call a special meeting or invoking her ability to kind of do it.
My concern is that if we wait to get those letters of resignation, I mean, it's too late. They already are turning them in. The idea here behind it is to try and be preventive. To be preventive of those that are considering leaving.
what's the reason for calling for a local emergency?
Well, I mean, let me be very clear. I mean, we can't just willy-nilly start declaring states of emergency. So, I mean, one of the conditions is it has to actually be a present condition, right? It can't be a prospective condition or something that we think is going to happen or might happen. It has to be something that we know is happening or is currently happening. And that's why I've expressed concerns on adoption of, I mean, you'd be adopting a prospective declaration of, I mean, if you want to do something ceremonial, you could declare a prospective declaration of emergency, but it wouldn't come with any powers for it. Because a declaration of emergency is just that there is an actual emergency right now. It's for when the burglar is in the house and you need the police to come. It's not when somebody's telling you there's a burglar in the neighborhood and we think somebody's casing your house. A bad analogy, but it's the best one I could come up at this hour.
So in other words, I cannot call the fire department until the house is on fire.
Correct, because when they show up, there's no fire, then you usually get a fine if it was your fire alarm that did it.
So, but I mean, it could be that I'm seeing someone playing with fire near my house and with potentially, but yeah, I mean.
All right, regardless.
But again, I want to reiterate, this is my legal advice. Councils disregard my legal advice all the time. So my job is to support you in whatever your decision is. I've just given you my legal perspective.
There was a motion, there's no second, so it died. There's myself and Mayor Pro Tem Garcia wanting to find out more information, including actual numbers and all that good stuff, as given direction for the future. Obviously, like you stated, Vanessa obviously will stay in communication with us if what the letter states comes into fruition. She would obviously get a hold of us and call for a potential special meeting and such. Is the rest of the council okay with that? What was that? Okay, so.
Well, it's no longer an option. I mean, it's not even, I mean, that would be an expectation, but it's not even an option.
Yeah, but.
I mean, you could pass a I mean, if the concern is that you could make a motion requiring the city manager. I mean, again, I think it's going to happen anyways, but if you want to do something, you could do a motion just requiring her to do it if you get those notices. Yeah, I mean, you can,
All right, so that's item number 19. Going to go ahead and move on to council with direction on future agenda items. Anybody has anything? No? Okay, we're going to go ahead and adjourn our meeting at, oh no, we're going to adjourn the regular council meeting at 10:37 p.m. and then we're going to go to closed session.
Do we have to go back to closed session? 'Cause can I
Could we,
go to sleep?
could we move it to, honestly, could we move it to, it's, could be on phone? I think most of the council.
We all work tomorrow. I'll try.
I know he wants to talk to you.